race alert and see where things stand right now in these states. Let's start in North Carolina right now. Look at this. 79% of the estimated vote is in. Biden is ahead by almost 100,000 votes, 50.5% to 48.4% in North Carolina. 15 electoral votes at stake. In Ohio right now, 59% of the estimated vote is in. Biden is ahead there by about 132,000 votes, 51.1% to 47.6%. 18 electoral votes at stake in Ohio right now. Let's take a look at Pennsylvania. Only 11% of the estimated vote is in. Biden has a lead of about 200,000. Right now, 62.2% to 36.7% in Pennsylvania. 20 electoral votes at stake. 70% of the vote in Texas is in. Look at how close it is. Biden is ahead, but he's ahead by only 5,200 votes. 49.3% to 49.3%. Look at how close it is in Texas right now. Huge prize, 38 electoral votes in Texas. Let's take a look at some more states right now. In Pennsylvania, 11% of the vote is in. Biden is ahead once again by 200,000 votes in Pennsylvania. And Colorado, Biden is ahead. 32% of the vote is in Colorado. 235,000 vote lead in Colorado. In New Hampshire right now, only 17% of the vote is in. Biden is ahead by some 15,000 votes, 54.4% to 44.3% in New Hampshire. We have 5 more races we want to update you on right now. Let's start off in Florida. Right now, 93% of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead of more than 327,000 votes, 51% to Biden's 48% in Florida. 29 electoral votes at stake in Florida. Take a look at that. Let's move on to Michigan right now. 18% of the estimated vote is in. Trump is ahead by about 213,000 votes, 59.2% to 38.5% in Michigan. Still relatively early in Michigan. In Virginia, 41% of the vote is in. Trump has a lead, a very impressive lead of 332,000 votes right now in the state of Virginia, 57.7% to 40.4% in Virginia. 13 electoral votes at stake. In Georgia, more than a third of the vote is in, 39%. Trump is ahead by more than 300,000 votes in Georgia right now, 56.9% to Biden's 42%. In Wisconsin, only 3% of the vote is in. Very, very early in the state of Wisconsin. Trump is up by about 11,000 votes, 54.3% to 44.1%. Let's take a look at the balance of power, what's going on in the U.S. Congress. Dana Bash is looking very closely at the U.S. Senate.
That's right, Wolf. We have 8 projections to make in U.S. Senate races, starting with the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and that is the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. CNN can project that he will go on for another term. Same with Arkansas's Tom Cotton, keeps that seat going on for another term there. And in South Dakota, CNN can project that Mike Rounds will go back to Washington for a second term. Tennessee, this is an open seat. Lamar Alexander is retiring. CNN can project that Bill Hagerty will win a first term there. In West Virginia, Shelley Moore Capito is going on for another term, according to CNN projections. And in Delaware, CNN is projecting that Chris Coons is going to go back to Washington. Representing that state, it was Joe Biden's old seat. New Hampshire, CNN is projecting Jeanne Shaheen is keeping her seat as well. And same goes for New Jersey. Cory Booker is going back to Washington representing New Jersey. Now let's look at some of the really important races we are watching right now. Colorado, right now, the Democratic challenger, John Hickenlooper, is ahead by a little more than 200,000 votes, 60.3%. The incumbent Republican Cory Gardner is at 38%, about 30% of the estimated vote in there. North Carolina, the Democratic challenger Cal Cunningham is ahead by just a little bit more than 57,000 votes at 48.5%. The incumbent Republican Tom Tillis at 47.3%. And in South Carolina, this is one that people across the country have been watching. Right now, the incumbent Republican Lindsey Graham is ahead pretty significantly. Now, let's look at what this all means in the big picture right now. Democrats are leading in 3 Republican seats. Democrats must pick up 4 Republican seats to flip the balance of power. And what is the balance of power right now? 39 Democrats, 36 Republicans, 25 seats remain to be called. Wolf?
All right. Thanks very much, Dana. We'll get back to you. Let's have another projection right now. CNN projects that Joe Biden will win the state of Colorado, will win its 9 electoral votes. He beats Trump in Colorado. Trump, on the other hand, wins in North Dakota. CNN projects Trump will win in North Dakota, pick up its 3 electoral votes. Trump is the winner in North Dakota. Here's the Electoral College map where it stands right now as a result of these projections. Biden is up to 89 Electoral College votes. Trump has 54, 270 needed to win the presidency. Let's go back to John King at the Magic Wall. We're looking at all these races. 89 right now, Electoral College. This is the most important. 89 for Biden, 54 for Trump.
Right, starting to get the building blocks, right? And again, a lot of unpredictability in counting votes on some of the other maps. A lot of states in play like Ohio and North Carolina that would be flips for Joe Biden. This map so far filling in a predictable way, but that's because we haven't called the battleground states, and we'll see where we go. But 89 to 54. 270 is the goal. You see the Joe Biden lead. This is why you look at the big states. The big states are what get you the lead. Joe Biden has New York, right? That's why Florida, Texas, California will be blue at the end of the night. So that's why battlegrounds like Florida, Texas this year, Ohio, that's why they're so important, because they're big chunks. You want to, that's the best way to get there is to build big. Pennsylvania, the biggest of the blue wall states. So if you're looking at this map right now, there are no surprises so far on this map. Again, if you come over here, I just want to pull out 1 second. Ask Brian to take a peek here. If you look at the 2020 map right now, we have Ohio blue right now. We have North Carolina blue right now. So let's come back over here and explain the significance of that, because we're at 89-54. You come back to the Trump map 4 years ago, right? Nothing has changed so far in the blue states. So far, Joe Biden is winning the Clinton states. The red states we've given to the president are states we expected him to win. But if you look at the map where we have it right now, and if that stays, right there, you get Donald Trump down to 273 and Joe Biden up to 265. So you're thinking, you have a scenario here where with just one more state, right? Just pick a state. There's 2 congressional districts here and here. That could get Joe Biden to 267. But you could get to 270 with just Michigan, right? If Donald Trump somehow holds on to Michigan, you could get to 270 with just Wisconsin. If Donald Trump somehow held on to Wisconsin from 2016, you could get, if you're Joe Biden, to 270 by flipping Arizona as we move west later in the night. This is the dynamic of the night. Joe Biden has more options. The menu to him gives him more options, especially if Ohio is competitive and North Carolina is competitive, and he's leading in those states right now. That is the challenge. President Trump has a much more narrow path to re-election as he tries to defend this map. And the Ohio and North Carolina early results, we're not there yet. They're all the more significant because we do know heading into the final days. And again, 2016, the president was behind. He roared back. Election day turnout overwhelmed Hillary Clinton's lead in the polls. Joe Biden's lead in the polls was bigger this time. It was bigger in Michigan. It was bigger in Wisconsin. It was bigger in Pennsylvania. So there was a path for Joe Biden to win without Ohio, without North Carolina, without Georgia or Arizona. Joe Biden has more options on the map, which is why in the Trump campaign headquarters right now, you're looking at Florida, you're happy. We're not done yet. You're looking at Florida and you think, okay, we're doing pretty well, but you're looking at Ohio and you're looking at North Carolina, and I'll just move over here and do it. And that's what you're looking at, because you can't afford to lose. You don't want to give up anything from your 2016 map, but if you're going to give up anything from your 2016 map, you certainly don't want to give up 2 of your bigger prizes, which would be Ohio and North Carolina. Again, we're not there yet. And again, right now, Trump's leading in Virginia. So if there are trade-offs, if you give something up, if you lose in North Carolina, you get it back by taking Virginia. I just want to say, though, people watching at home, look at that. Look at that, right? Virginia is a state that has been trending blue, but, and here's the but, and this is the anomaly of tonight. We're getting different results at different times in these different states. So we have a lot of Democratic votes still to come in. Fairfax County is the biggest. I was looking at some of the other ones early. A lot of Democratic votes still to come in. We'll watch it. It's interesting, right? Maybe it's going to be closer than we thought. Maybe there's a Trump surprise there. We'll keep looking at it, but there's a lot of Democratic votes out still. So I suspect Virginia may change in a little bit. So we come down to North Carolina. Look at that lead, 85,000 now. What was the question earlier? We were 140 at one point. We're down to 113. Now we're down to 85,644. We told you early on the Biden big lead early was based on early votes. We know Democrats disproportionately voted early for COVID protection reasons. Democrats encouraged them to do so. And then Trump, all his rallies, what was the goal? Impressive, overwhelming election day turnout. That's what the president wanted. Is he getting it? We're up to 80%. We shall see. Right, 50.3 to 48.5, a much closer race in a state that is a 50-50 battleground. North Carolina may be the most competitive state in American politics. Maybe Florida is a close second. But when you look at the demographics of North Carolina, it is perhaps the most competitive state in American politics right now. Cumberland County, 57%, 90%. So you get to this point, 90% of the estimated vote. If you're a Democrat, you're thinking, how much more can I get out of this? If you're a Republican, you're thinking, can I just narrow the margins a little bit? 57.5, let's go back in time, 56.7, right? So you don't think that's a lot, right? 71,000 votes then, 16-point race. You come back here, 17-point race. Look at the turnout everywhere in America. And this is a good thing, whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent. Look at that number right there. All right? In every county we're looking at, almost every county we're looking at, a higher vote total winning this time. That's a good thing. No matter who wins the election tonight, that's a good thing. More Americans came out and participated in the election. So we'll come there. Let's look at Wake County. That's Hillary Clinton then. That's Joe Biden now, from 58 to 65. That's a big deal. 355,000 votes, 302,000 votes, 53,000 more votes in the Democratic column there. Let's look at the president's numbers from 2016. 196. You come forward, 179. So higher turnout in this county. The president's not. He's got a ways to go, 80% there. We'll see if he can narrow the gap. And again, you're looking at these blue areas. You see the dots in the middle. These are your urban areas. This is all around America. Democrats run it up in the urban areas. The question then is, how do the Republicans do in the suburbs? They're getting shellacked. The president's getting shellacked there, as he did 4 years ago. He's getting beat here. Wolf, just one more. I just want to look quickly. Mecklenburg County, Charlotte in the suburbs. This is the most populous county in the state. 68 to 31 when you round up, 63 to 33. Again, doesn't seem like a lot. In a place that has the most votes in the state, that matters.
Yeah, 87% of the vote in that county out there. Let's check in with David Chalian, who's taking a very close look at North Carolina as well.
I am indeed. Well, first, I just want to show you this board here. These are the states that Joe Biden is leading in that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. So in North Carolina, as you were just discussing with John, he's got a 1.77 percentage point lead over Donald Trump. In Ohio, he's just under a 2 percentage point lead over Donald Trump. And in Wisconsin, he's got just over a 2 percentage point lead over Donald Trump. 3 states that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. Let's look at North Carolina and look at what's going on there. What you see the state of play right now, you see that Joe Biden has 2.385 million votes compared to Donald Trump's 2.301. He's ahead with 80% of the estimated vote in. But here's what we have to look out for. All those big Democratic counties John was just talking about, it is mostly early vote. So look, of this 80% of the vote that's in, 90% of it right now in North Carolina statewide is early vote. We think that's going to come down. We think that at the end of the night, 75% of the total North Carolina vote will be early vote. So right now, the early vote is helping Joe Biden. But as more Election Day vote comes in North Carolina, Donald Trump may be able to benefit from that. So we just got to keep watching as those votes come in North Carolina, Wolf.
All right, David, thank you very much. North Carolina, it's really important right now. Look at 80% of the vote is in. Biden's lead has gone down from 150,000 to now 84,000.
And David was just outlining the challenge for Joe Biden in North Carolina, in Ohio, in any of the battleground states, which is that the Democrats were happy with their early voting. In many of the states, if you looked at the data, disproportionately for the Democrats. So they got a couple laps in, if you will, on the Republicans. That's great. It's great to be leading the race, but you have to finish the race. And you finished the race today on Election Day. And that was the challenge for the Democrats. And that was the concern as they saw the president going around. How many rallies did he have in Pennsylvania? How many rallies did he have in North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan? The president retracing his 2016 map, trying to get voters out of the woodwork to vote today. And so as David makes the point here, you know, you've gone from 120-something to 111, now to 84,000 votes ahead. You want to be in the lead. You'd rather be in the lead always, of course. But now we're going to keep counting these Election Day votes. And so in some of these places, you know, you're in more rural counties. I keep coming back out to here, 95% in. If you're Joe Biden, you're happy because this is one of these Trump super counties. This is where he had a rally the other day. You hope that there's not many more votes to come here because you just see the margin, right? 30,000, just shy of 30,000 votes, the margin here. You come back 4 years ago, same idea. The president ran it up there by about 27,000. And you loosely run it up. This is one of the places, I call it Trump super counties, where they go there for a reason, because they know they have voters that they can turn out on Election Day, and that was the challenge. So now we're going to see. The Democrats don't have to beat Donald Trump today in the Election Day vote. They don't have to beat him, but they have to be competitive. They can't if they get shellacked today, you lose what you gained with the early vote. And so we're going to keep watching as this comes in. And we have some places where we still have no votes, right? So you're watching those as well. It's just we're waiting for people to report. This was a big Trump county. Not a ton of votes, but if you're down, right now you're down 84,000 votes. 4 years ago in this county, look at the difference. There's 24,000 votes more than that, 26,000 votes. So you can get them in the places we're missing. When you come back in here, Some of the places we're missing are places where the president did quite well in 2016. So that's the concern if you're in the Biden campaign headquarters. You like how this looks, but you know there's more to come. And so what every campaign does right now, they know what's missing. They know which counties, they know which precincts within those precincts. They know what their data tells them about who lives there and how they're doing.
Let's go to Ohio.
So Durham County there, 86%. Again, just one quick point before we do it, before we leave. This is a place where they ran it up 4 years ago, so that's not quite as significant. I want to move over here. This is the thing. We'll come back here to Raleigh, to Wake County and the suburbs. Does the math change and does the margin change as that election day vote comes in? So we'll use that as a marker. Now you want to go back to Ohio. And you come back here, 64%. It's been sort of a we got some good votes early on, but it's been a slog since. And look how close that is. 13,461 votes. They call them battleground states for a reason. 49.5 to 49.2 with 64% in. And again, you have the same dynamics at play, especially in some of these smaller rural places. It doesn't look like a lot. You don't think this is a lot, right? Because it's 8,000 votes in a giant state like Ohio. But you're halfway in. You're getting 8,700 to the other guy's 2,900. That matters, right? That margin matters when you do it here, and then you do it here, and then you do it here, and then you do it here. That's how it adds up. And so, again, you'd rather be leading than trailing, but you're watching those leads shrink as Election Day vote comes in, and you're trying to figure out, is it enough to hold, or do we have trouble?
Let's go back to David Chalian. David, take a look at Ohio right now. How much of the vote is very close? Only a 13,000 vote lead for Biden in Ohio right now. How much is the early vote as opposed to the today vote?
Yeah, you're noting Joe Biden's very, very close lead over Donald Trump. That's with 64% of the vote in. But let me show you that right now, of that vote that's in, 41% of it is early vote. That's helping Joe Biden. But unlike North Carolina, we expect the early vote share to grow here in Ohio. At the end of the night, we estimated it should be about 53% of the overall vote. So there's the potential as more early vote comes in, Joe Biden could potentially pad that lead. It's something to watch. Obviously, those rural counties can help Trump as well. Jake?
Thanks, David. We're looking at the race having tightened up quite a bit from what some pundits were projecting. And right now, it really does look like President Trump has narrowed or even broken even in Florida and North Carolina and Georgia. So really, it is all coming down to what we said months and months ago, the blue wall of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, the states that Hillary Clinton thought she had in the bag that Donald Trump tore down. Joe Biden trying to build it back up.
That's right. And, you know, look, those states that you just talked about, it is not over. We are still watching them. But the whole MO of the Biden campaign from the beginning was to rebuild that blue wall. And there's also another state that's going to come in later, which is Arizona. And that is still one that the Biden campaign is really hoping to finally flip from red to blue.
Yeah, and I think that we also are looking at a situation in which Biden is not maybe expanding the map as much as they might have hoped that they would. The states that they thought that he had a good chance, maybe because of turnout, maybe because of demographics, are tight, which is fine, but it's election day, and you have to actually win the state in order for it to matter. So, you know, we don't know what's going to happen yet, but this is a map that, as you just said, is probably just going to come down to what we always thought it would come down to, that blue wall up there, that Biden really, really at this point must hold on to in order to get to.
Although the Biden people, we should say, have not conceded any Florida or Georgia or North Carolina, and they feel very good. They still feel good about North Carolina. They still feel very positive about Arizona and the blue wall. But it's just not going to be, as some Democrats were hoping for, that they thought it was going to be an early landslide, which was really always a pipe dream.
Yeah, I mean, there is no landslide that we're looking at. No way, given the numbers that we've seen, particularly when you start the night in Florida, when it's as tight as Florida tends to be. And it's maybe even less so right now as they continue to count the votes. What is interesting is Florida, one of the reasons why the Biden campaign thinks that they're doing not as well as they'd hoped is because they're really underperforming with Latino voters. Right. They're hoping to change that dynamic in a big way when Arizona starts to count the votes, that they're hoping that that is what helps to buoy them in Arizona.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier. The Latino voters in Florida, a great deal of them are Cuban-American and Venezuelan-American in southern Florida, very different from the Mexican-American, Central American voters, Latino voters in Nevada and Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing the same thing from Democrats who are saying, wait and see, because in Arizona, we might see a completely different story. Even in a state like North Carolina, we might see a different story where a smaller population of Latino voters could be very important for Biden if he is able to turn them out. But that being said, what is happening in Florida, I can tell you, Democrats are not happy about it. Yeah. At the end of the day, the situation in Miami-Dade is something that in the autopsy of this election, they will be looking back at and trying to figure out what went wrong.
And I'll tell you what they think went wrong is that the Trump attacks have worked.
Yeah.
Calling the Democrats socialists work with people in that area in particular and that
and
segment of the population.
A lot of disinformation campaigns going on down there as well that we've covered on this air. Wolf?
All right, thanks very much, Jake. You know, John, let's take a look at Michigan and Virginia right now. What are we seeing?
Well, we're seeing red, number one. Michigan and Virginia. Virginia certainly we thought would be blue. It has increasingly become a blue state. Let's start at Michigan because Michigan, of course, was critical to the Trump win in 2016. You see a lot of red on the map right now. But again, 20% estimated reporting. We expect red up here. Let's give you a little 2016 flashback. A lot of red in this state, right? The question is, can Joe Biden flip it back? So let's come back to 2020. Remember the blue down here. That's from 2016. You don't have it down here right now. And again, so you look at Wayne County, that is Detroit and the suburbs around Detroit. Donald Trump leading right now. It's 3% of the vote. So this is a tiny amount of the vote here. You come up to Macomb County, 35% of the vote. If that holds, that's a big deal. But again, it's 35% of the vote. Macomb County 2020, legendary home of the Reagan Democrats. If you go back to the 80s, who were the blue-collar workers disaffected from the Democrats, supported Ronald Reagan. This is where the studies, Stan Greenberg, the Democratic pollster, did a lot of studies there. If you look at 2016, Hillary Clinton lost Macomb County by 10 points and change, 11 points there. And so this number here, if that holds up, that's a huge deal. That's Michigan, but this is very, very early. I just want to pull out again because I know people watching at home, we've told you there's going to be a lot of anomalies in the map tonight. There might also be surprises. That's why we continue to count them. This is one here, 56-41 in the Commonwealth of Virginia. You might expect Trump to pull ahead there at some point. That's a huge lead, about 45%. I just noticed earlier tonight, I just want to check one more time. Fairfax County, the largest county in the state, fast growing, hugely Democratic base, 27%. So there are votes to come in the Commonwealth of Virginia, but again, on a night where we expect maybe the unexpected in some places, we'll keep an eye on that.
Let's check in with David Chalian. Give us some context on these two states, what we're talking about. We're talking about Michigan and Virginia.
Still early in Michigan, obviously, but that Donald Trump lead, 657,000 votes to Joe Biden's 436,000. That is with 20% of the estimated vote in Michigan in. So we want to know, well, how much of this is early vote right now? And take a look here. Only 11% of the vote that's in Michigan is early vote right now. We know that Joe Biden voters are the ones that tended to vote early. We expect that to go up to 55%. We think a slim majority of voters in Michigan will have voted before Election Day by mail, early voting. That could benefit Biden since he's doing better in the early vote in Michigan. He could overtake Donald Trump. Look at Virginia. John was just talking about some of those Democratic areas that are out in Virginia. Here's the current state of play. Donald Trump has a healthy lead there in Virginia with 45% of the vote in. What is the story of the early vote? Currently, of that vote that's in, 28% of it is early vote. And we know Joe Biden's doing better with early vote. We expect that to go up to 66%. So a huge swath of the early vote that is going to be a pro-Biden vote could help Joe Biden overtake Donald Trump's lead in Virginia. Specifically, we see almost no early vote in some of the really heavy Democratic counties of Fairfax and Alexandria, Wolf.
All right, thanks very much. We've got two more projections right now. All right, take a look at this. CNN now projects that Donald Trump will win the state of South Carolina. He's the winner in South Carolina, will win its 9 electoral votes. CNN also projects Donald Trump will win in Alabama, will win its 9 electoral votes in the state of Alabama as well. Here's where the Electoral College map stands right now. It's close. Biden now has 89 Electoral College votes. Trump has 72 Electoral College votes, 270, of course, needed to win the presidency. We're getting deeper into the night and another round of results. We're counting down to the top of the hour, 10 p.m. Eastern. That's when polls will close in Iowa, Montana, Nevada, and Utah. Together, those states have 21 electoral votes. Every vote is vital to get to the winning total of 270. Iowa and Nevada are the battlegrounds to watch in the next hour. Joe Biden looking to hold on to Nevada for the Democrats, while the president is hoping to hold on to Iowa after winning it handily 4 years ago. Let's get a key race alert right now. Let's start with Ohio, a critical battleground state right now. 64% of the estimated vote is in. Look at how close it is in Ohio right now. Only a 13,000 vote lead for Biden over Trump. In Ohio, 49.5% for Biden. Look at that, how close it is in North Carolina. 82% of the vote is in. Biden does have almost a 65,000 vote lead over Trump, 50.1% over there. In Pennsylvania, only 16% of the vote is in. They're taking their time counting the votes in Pennsylvania. Biden has a 73,000 vote lead over Trump, 52.5%, as you can see. In Wisconsin right now, 19% of the vote is in. Biden's lead is narrow, only 22,000 vote lead, 50.7% to 47.4% in Wisconsin. In Minnesota right now, a quarter of the vote is in. Biden has an impressive nearly 300,000 vote lead in Minnesota, 66.1% he's got there. In New Hampshire right now, 22% of the vote is in. Biden's lead has increased a bit to nearly 20,000, 54.3% to 44.4%. Let's take a look at 3 more states right now. Actually 5 more states right now. Florida right now, 93% of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead, 379,000 vote lead over Biden in Florida. In Michigan right now, 20% of the vote is in. Trump has an impressive 224,000 vote lead over Biden right now in Michigan. Right there in Georgia, almost half of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty impressive lead there as well, nearly more than 364,000 vote lead over Biden in Georgia. 16 electoral votes there. In Texas, 76% of the estimated vote is in. Trump has a lead of 170,000 votes over Biden in the state of Texas, a huge prize. 38 electoral votes. In Virginia, 45% of the estimated vote is in. And look at this, Trump still has a pretty impressive lead of more than 311,000 votes in Virginia, 56.4% to 41.7%. Let's go back to John King at the Magic Wall. So remind us, big picture, where we are right now in this race to 270.
Well, you're getting the building blocks, right? The building blocks are the solids, the states that you depend on. The Democrats depend on certain states, the Republicans depend on certain states. And the way this map is filling in right now, nothing here is a surprise. So both campaigns doing the building blocks to try to get you in a contention. To get to 270, you got to pass 100 first. We're getting close. 89 for Joe Biden, 72 for the President of the United States. And again, everything we see filled in, all these reds, we had them solid Trump coming in. All these blues, we had them Biden coming in. So we don't have any surprises right now as we look at the map. The question is, where are we going? And I'm going to ask you, Brian, again, just to swing around. We'll do a little choreography here. Texas red at the moment. We haven't called that one. Donald Trump has to hold it. Virginia red at the moment. That would be a shock. That would be a Clinton state that was taken away. But again, we're waiting for Democratic votes there. We're very early on. The map is going to be different tonight as we go through these different scenarios of mail-in votes, in-person early, Election Day, different states counting them in different order. So it's going to be different as we go through. But you just mentioned Joe Biden opening a lead in Minnesota and opening a lead in New Hampshire. Come back over here, and I'll show you why that's important. Hillary Clinton won both of those states, so people would say no big deal. The Trump campaign understands. It understands. We'll go back to his map. It understands if we come back to the 306, 232, this was 4 years ago. The Trump campaign fully understands that Joe Biden is more competitive here than Hillary Clinton, led in the polls. Joe Biden is more competitive here than Hillary Clinton, led in the polls. So even if you just take Wisconsin, right? Even if you just took Wisconsin away from the president here, if you take away this, right? So you're down, you're going away. And you take away this, right? So you're down some more here. And then you're worried about if that goes away, then you're underneath. So the Trump campaign, knowing that Joe Biden was more competitive in the blue wall states, was thinking, what can we get? So they were looking at states they just lost, right? They just lost. Minnesota was very close. Republicans make a run at it. I remember George W. Bush making a run at it. Republicans always make a run. They don't quite get there. But Trump thought he could get there. Trump thought he could pick this one up. I got to switch this here. Sorry about that. Trump thought he could pick this up, and then he thought maybe I can come here and get this, right? It's just, if you're going to subtract, you have to add. And so we're not done on those states. We're just counting the early votes. But you saw Mike Pence and the president both campaigning in those states in the final days of the campaign. When you know there's going to be subtraction, you look for addition. At the moment, we'll keep counting them. But at the moment, if those stay blue, that's a setback for Trump.
I want to go back to Dana Bash. She's got a significant projection in the balance of power in the U.S. Senate.
That's right, Wolf. In Colorado, CNN can project that John Hickenlooper, the former governor, the Democratic challenger, will be the next senator representing Colorado, defeating the incumbent Republican Cory Gardner. It's the first Democratic pickup of the night in the Senate. Democrats now must pick up 3 Republican seats. And right now, the balance of power is 40 Democrats, 36 Republicans, but 24 seats remain to be called tonight, Wolf.
Big pickup for the Democrats there. Thanks very much, Deanna. So, John, we're looking at the big picture right now. The popular vote, not that it's all that important, but it's still significant. Trump has a significant lead right now, but we're really focused on the Electoral College.
We are, but it is interesting to watch it play out. Again, we're early in this chapter, and so whether the states look a little funny or different, whether some of those states are in play to change, and as you watch that play out, let's remember, we're early, right? We're still here. We're counting votes as we go. Some people are still voting out on the West Coast and everything, but it's one of the givens, if you will, was that Donald Trump would lose the popular vote again. He lost to Hillary Clinton 4 years ago. At the moment, he's ahead. That's not a surprise. The red states have come in first, but let's watch that as it plays out. If Joe Biden passes him, then the question is, how does it stretch out? So that's one way to look at it. And some people out there I know, a lot of Democrats, having lived through Bush v. Gore and then Clinton versus Trump, you think we don't want the Electoral College. Well, we have it. That's the way we pick presidents right now. And so we'll watch that popular vote play out. But more importantly, we're going to watch these states. And again, as you noted, we were just talking about this a minute ago. We're early here, but Joe Biden pulling out to an early lead in Minnesota. It's one of those states. Each campaign looks at the last guy's map and says, what can I do to try to change it? The Trump campaign wanted Minnesota. They wanted New Hampshire. The Biden lead early on. We'll see if it changes. This one here, these are the fascinating. They're just, this is why we do this, Wolf. This is why it's exciting and fun. 13,000 votes now in Ohio, 64% for some time. So we're waiting. We're waiting for more votes to be counted. And again, we should all appreciate the challenge of these election officials all across the country. Democrats, Republicans, small county, big cities. It's a huge challenge. Turnout is up. You have the mix of voting, mail-in voting, in-person early. But right now, 49.5 to 49.2 in a state the president must win. Joe Biden does not need this. He leads right now by just shy of 14,000 votes, 13,461. He does not need this, but he would like it. Just want to check to see where we are in the percentages. David Chalian talked a little bit about this earlier. We have to watch which vote is which, but 55% still. You have a lot of votes to count here in a deep blue county, Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, and the surrounding areas. If you're a Democrat, you think we'll do okay there. 58% here, so more votes to be counted in Summit County. You're running well ahead. If you're in the Biden campaign quarters, you say, okay, we got a ways to go here. Just want to move over here. About half of the votes counted. I'm just following the blue to see what's left to come in. So if you're Joe Biden, the question is, do you hold these margins? Or when more Election Day vote comes in, this is a place the president ran pretty strong 4 years ago, does he get the Election Day turnout to bring it back? That is the dynamic of the night in state after state after state, and we're going to have to watch it. But Ohio is a great battleground state. It's been a while. It was not a battleground last time. The president won it quite comfortably. North Carolina, you look at the margin now, 29,000 votes. It was above 100,000. It was close to 125,000 not that long ago. It is down, but 84% right now, 49.7 to 49.1. Just want to go back 4 years ago. This was a 3-point race, if you round up there, 4 years ago. Just look how close this is. And again, we're missing some counties. We're missing completely. See how many votes are here 4 years ago. 13. There's about 1,000 vote difference there, a little more than that, a little less than that 4 years ago. So you're looking to see what's missing in these counties. And the main place, just come check in here, up to 92%. The question is, again, what's missing? Is it they're counting early votes? Then you think Joe Biden will get more than his fair share of those. If it's all Election Day votes, that's where the president's campaign team thinks he'll do his advantage. So this is what our people are doing, and it's what all the campaigns are doing, calling into the places where we're still missing votes and figuring out what's missing. Which votes are they? Let's come back up here to county number 2, Wake County, up to 83%. Again, if you're Joe Biden normally, in a normal election, you see this. You have a huge margin, 83%. You think you're going to build, right? Because you've been running it up all night. You have more votes to come in. The challenge this year is the mail-in, in-person early Election Day vote. They're different, right? We know Republicans were more likely to come out today. Democrats were more likely to vote early. So the normal rules don't always apply. You have to find out what's missing. What's missing? So let's pull it out a little bit more and come on the map and look at it, see if anything's changed while we've been here. I just want to check on the size of the president's lead here. 179,000 votes in Texas and some change. So we're going to wait in Texas as well. Just want to see how we're doing down here in Harris County. This is the largest county in the state, 82% of the vote in. So we'll continue to watch that. Joe Biden making it closer. The question is, can he find a way to the finish line? And we'll just pull out and look at the map. We're starting to fill it in. 50% to 48% in the popular vote. That's not how we pick a president, though, Wolf, and we'll keep counting.
We certainly will, and we're only moments away, John, from another round of poll closings. Voting is about to end in 4 states, including the key battlegrounds of Iowa and Nevada. A total of 21 electoral votes are on the line right now. We got a key race alert right now. We believe it's too early to call in Iowa, for example, 6 electoral votes right there. Too early to call in Nevada right there, 6 electoral votes. Too early to call in Utah right now as well, another 6 electoral votes there. It's too early to call in the state of Montana, 3 electoral votes right now. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map, where things stand right now. There you can see in the race for 270 needed to win the presidency, Biden is still ahead. He has 89 Electoral College votes. Trump has 72 Electoral College votes. Let's get a key race alert right now. Here's where things stand in these key battleground states. Let's start in Ohio right now. 69% of the estimated vote is in Ohio. Trump is ahead by 102,000 votes over Biden, 50.5% to 48.1%. In North Carolina, 84% of the vote is in. Biden has a very small lead of nearly 30,000 votes, 49.7% to 49.1%. In Minnesota right now, 29% of the vote is in. Biden has a relatively comfortable 300,000 vote lead over Trump, 64.2% to 33.8%. In New Hampshire, more than a quarter of the vote is in. 26% of the vote is in. Biden has a nearly 20,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.6% to 45.1%. We've got 7 more states we want to check out right now. Let's check out Florida right now. Trump is pretty comfortably ahead with 93% of the vote is in. He's got a lead of 382,000 votes over Biden in Florida, 29 electoral votes in Florida. In Pennsylvania, only 20% of the vote is in. Trump is ahead by some 46,000 votes, 51% to 47.7% in Pennsylvania. In Michigan right now, a quarter of the vote almost is in. Trump is ahead by 228,000 votes, but it's early. 23% of the estimated vote is in, 57%. In Texas, 77% of the vote is in. Trump has a 215,000 vote lead over Biden, 50.5% to 48.1%. In Wisconsin, more than a quarter of the vote is in. Trump has a narrow 28,000 vote lead over Biden right now. It's still early, 50.6% there. In Georgia, 51% of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead right now, 346,000 lead over Biden, 16 electoral votes in Georgia. In Virginia, more than half of the vote is in, 53%. Trump's lead is 189,000 votes over Biden, 53% to 45.3%. Let's walk over to John King at the Magic Wall. John, what are you looking at right now? What's jumping out at you?
Right now, I was just looking every now and then. I just like to look at president by county. We look by states all the time. I just like to look by county. You'll see a lot more red counties in America. You always do. That's the way it works. But because of the smaller counties, but the Democrats win in the red counties. We're just taking a look at that. It's a personal curiosity as we go through the nights. And now we come back to this right here. 50.7 to 47.9 in the national vote, but that's not how we pick presidents. We look at 2020 right here. Look what has just happened in the last few minutes. Ohio is red. The president ahead right now. If you look at the vote there, 70% there, 128,000 lead. A big shift there as more votes come in the state of Ohio, 50.8 to 47.9. This is why we've been telling you throughout the night, requires a little bit of patience on our part and on your part as well. They're counting votes in different ways, and so we're going to see some swings. And sometimes they're going to happen quickly when new votes come in. The President of the United States now leading in a state he must win, battleground Ohio, 50.8 to 47.9. 70%, still a ways to go. And as David Chalian noted earlier, we're waiting for some early vote here. We're waiting for states to count their votes. Some are doing it in a different order. Early voting, mail-in voting, and today voting. We'll see how it plays out. Just want to check to see if the margins are changing at all as we play through this. This is a big shift. This is a very big shift on the map. President Trump, Ohio goes back to red for now. We're not done. We have a ways to go. 30% of the count there. You're looking at Pennsylvania right now. If you're looking at this map right now, let me just pull it back out a second. If you're a Democrat sitting at home right now, you're looking at this map and you say, oh my, it's happening again. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. If you're a Republican, you're saying that's what we needed. Here's the thing. Slow down. We have a long way to go in all of these states. No offense to anybody, but we're 21% right here. We know Pennsylvania has some issues. Some of the mail-in votes won't even be counted until tomorrow. It's worth looking at. These are all real votes. The question is, we don't have context yet because we're so early in these states. So just be careful. Don't look at the map at this hour and make any judgments because we're in the middle chapters here. In some states, in the early chapters, again, President has a lead in Michigan right now. Last time we were here, he was leading in Wayne County. We knew that wasn't going to happen. Joe Biden is ahead now, but that's a tiny, tiny vote count. There's a long way to go in these states. That's what makes them interesting. They're going to flip back and forth a little bit. Let's move over to Wisconsin and look. And again, the president has a narrow lead here, 51 if you want to round that up, to 48 if you round that up. But again, 30% of the vote, a long way to go. So when you pull it out like this, people look at it at home and you think, wow, we're not done. We have a long way to go in a lot of places, including Virginia is red right now. If the president can keep Virginia red, the president's going to be reelected. But we don't know this yet still. 53 to 45, that's actually gotten closer in recent times. And again, you come back up here. This is where elections in Virginia are won and lost. Northern Virginia is what has changed Virginia from a purple state to a blue state, and we're waiting still. We only have 28% of the vote. Fairfax County, it's the largest vote center in the state. It is Democratic, overwhelmingly so. So we'll see when votes come in here. Let's move down here. Look at this. Look at North Carolina. This was over 100,000 at one point. I think it was over 120,000 at one point. It is now 5,000, 2,000 as you speak. More votes come in. That's the magic. That is the magic of live data reporting and the counting votes. 2,000 votes ahead, 49.4 to 49.4 in battleground North Carolina. Joe Biden doesn't need it, but if he gets it, he blocks the president's path to re-election, most likely. This state, remember, and again, this is a textbook example of what we've asked throughout the night. Patience on our part, patience on your part. Early votes came in. Joe Biden built an early lead. Now we're getting election day votes in. North Carolina, tight.
Let's take a look at Arizona. The votes coming in relatively quickly in Arizona. I think nearly a quarter of the vote is in Arizona.
And so you see it blue right now. Not since Bill Clinton has Arizona ended the night. We're not at the end of the night, but not since Bill Clinton, with the help of Ross Perot, has Arizona gone blue. And so you look at it now, and you see the entire state. You see the familiar cities: Flagstaff, Sedona, Yuma, Tucson. Let's be honest, this comes down to Maricopa County and Phoenix, one of the fastest growing areas in America. 60% or more of the vote comes right out of here. 77% of it in. Again, we'll figure out what's missing from that. But Joe Biden at 54%, the president at 44, so a 10-point race, a little under 10-point race. Let's just go back and look at it. Excuse me, get that to click in. Again, so Donald Trump wins Arizona 4 years ago, wins Maricopa County. This is the biggest basket of votes. Phoenix and the fast-growing suburbs. 4 years later, from 2016 to 2020, this is one of the fastest-growing states. You get out of Phoenix, you get down here, Goodyear and the like, fast-growing suburbs. Again, the suburbs have revolted against this president. There's an important Senate race in this state as well. Let's come back to 2020 and look at the map. That Maricopa County is blue, is a source of joy in the Biden campaign right now. They have to keep it that way. Let's just look down here. Pima County, again, 64 if you round that up to 35. 80% of the vote in. You go back here, 54. So by 10 percentage points, you're overperforming Hillary Clinton. Just want to see how the turnout is here. 224,000 4 years ago, already 260,000. Again, one of the gifts of this election, no matter who wins, is turnout is up everywhere. That's a good thing. We want that to happen every time. But again, you see the split right there. Joe Biden overperforming Hillary Clinton there. You got some rural areas here to fill in the state. If you go back in time, you can see what happens here. The states, but this is it. This is it. Maricopa County, Phoenix, the suburbs around it. Again, traditionally Republican territory, increasingly because of demographics and because of the suburban revolt against the President of the United States. Maricopa County, if that holds up, that's the ball game in Arizona, but we have a ways to go there. The biggest piece of the state, Joe Biden doing what he has to do otherwise. And again, Wolf, we talked about this before. Both campaigns look at the last guy's map. So you look at the Trump map from 2016. If you're Joe Biden, priority one, hold every Clinton state, and then look for things to flip. If you can flip Arizona, you're chipping away at the president. So the main priority for the Biden campaign is that blue wall. Let's come back out and look. This is the main priority. Flip these guys back. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. If you do that, that's all you have to do if you're Joe Biden. That's all you have to do. But your backup plan, get something else, right? North Carolina is your hope. That one's getting close. If you can't get these, you go over here as well. You look at North Carolina right there. That's 1,300 votes.
Basically a tie right now.
That's basically a tie. Again, if you end it that way, you win. A win is a win. But we got a ways to go. 86%. This is why they're so much fun. Let's just come back out here and see if anything's updated. No, still at 70% here. Got to give these states credit in the challenge they face. Many of these states are reporting pretty quickly. Yeah. In the challenge they face with all the different kinds of voting this year, it's a good thing to see. Just want to check. Want to go back to Arizona here. I was going to check the upper Midwest, but as you see 70% of the vote in here. And again, let's just see here, 70%. So 4 years ago, more conservative part of the state, 51. This is where we are now, 51 to 46. Let's just go back, 48. So the president actually doing fine here, right? doing better, at least so far, right there. 26,000 votes now, 25,000. So the president doing better here, running up some votes here. The problem for the president, when you look at it this way, though, and come back to 2020, is that's great. That's what you want to do. You want to do better everywhere you can. The issue is way more people live here, way more people. And so you get 798,000, 77% in. Let's compare that to Secretary Clinton 4 years ago. She had 702,000 to end the night. We're not done yet. And she was at 45 with the president at 49. Joe Biden, 54%. That's game changing. If you can keep that there, we're still counting in Arizona. And again, that would be a flip. If I can walk over here, I just want to show you the significance of this as you come through this here. Let's come back to the president's map from 4 years ago. And again, if you're Joe Biden and you're looking at this map, you had a very comfortable lead here coming in. That would get the president down to 290. You had a lead here. That would get the president down to 280. And if you can pick this up here, you're at 269, 269. Everybody at home, take a gasp right now. 269, 269. It never ends up this way, but we do have scenarios where it happens. And then if you're Joe Biden, you look up here in the state of Maine, you think you're going to pick up that second congressional district. Just that, right? Michigan, Wisconsin, that's just as, I mean, they're not easy to win, so I shouldn't say just. But Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and the congressional district there. There's also a congressional district in here, Nebraska and Maine. Do it by congressional district where Joe Biden is favored. So it is possible for Joe Biden to win the presidency. That's a squeaker, but that's why Arizona is so important. You're looking at this map, you're thinking, well, Trump, is he going to pull off Pennsylvania again? Joe Biden had, 5, 6, 7-point lead at the end of the race. Hillary Clinton had 3, 4-point lead at the end of the last race, but you're not sure. You're not sure about that. You think you're going to get it back, but you're not sure. You feel more comfortable about this. You feel more comfortable about that. If you can get that, that's the game. That's the game. You look at the last guy's map, you take something away. That's why Arizona matters. Also, just remember the demographics of the United States. When I started covering presidential politics, that was red. That was purple, competitive state. That was red. That was red. The changing of American demographics. I know tonight we're picking a president, 2020 and beyond, but we're also watching a changing country and how it votes. And it's fascinating. Now we'll come back to here because we're not done yet on these things. But here's where we are right now. As they start to build the building blocks up, this is where it gets interesting. 89 to 72. We're starting to fill in as we come over here. We're into the 10 o'clock hour, right? Yes, we are. I had to check the watch on that one. We're into the 10 o'clock hour, which is, this is where in presidential politics, 10, 11, up to midnight.
Yeah, California, Oregon, Washington State, they're about to close at the top of the hour. Those are big states as well.
And they're counting more votes here, too. That's why, as we get later into the night, this is why it matters more. And so let's just look at it again. Again, this is one Trump wanted to flip. Joe Biden wants to flip Arizona. Donald Trump wanted to flip Minnesota. Not happening if you look at it right now. So we don't see that yet. We'll watch them. We'll continue to watch it. Just want to keep checking in on these. Again, if you're in the Trump campaign headquarters, you're looking at Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If you can hold those, then you hold the presidency, right? But again, we just want to remind you, you're going to see things on the map. You're going to hold for a while, but this is slower count. So we're going to see this play out. 30% of the vote in Wisconsin. You come over to Michigan. Again, some of this may come tomorrow. We'll see. They're going to do the best they can. As we get later in the night, we'll know more about that. And then you come over here to Pennsylvania. Again, very, very early in the night. You see, I just want to take a peek down here, see how we're doing in Philadelphia. Look, 70,000 votes in Philadelphia, which means nothing, which means we're just starting.
9%.
Yeah, we're just starting the night in Pennsylvania. So we need to be careful about drawing any conclusions there. So then let's look at where we do have a lot of votes, right? This is real business now. When you get to a place, 72% in Ohio, Donald Trump up, stretching that lead a little bit, 177,000 votes. The Republican governor, Mike DeWine, thought the president would squeak it out. We'll see. Got a ways to go yet. As David Chalian noted, there's some early votes still to be counted there, so this could swing again. That's why we count to the end. And I want to come back to North Carolina, which is now red for the president, 25,000 votes ahead. This again, you're going to watch the map swing, right? Joe Biden had a big early lead in North Carolina. Democrats get optimistic, but we have to remember the difference of this night in the pandemic election, the different ways people voted and the different pace at which states are counting them. North Carolina now, the president ahead, up to 88%, 49.6 to 49.2. That means we still have more to count, but you see the swing. And we're going to see that. We're going to see some states start out blue and go back red because of the way the votes are counted. Sometimes they count the early votes first or the mail-in votes first, and today votes, election day votes later. Other states do it in a different order, and they'll swing the other way, which is why we just got to finish. Don't try to end the book before we get to the finish line. Right. 49.6 to 49.2. Let's pull this out. You see this red here. Again, this one here, I'm waiting to see up to 54% right now. There are some Democrats in Virginia who are starting to get a little nervous, and they're calling the Fairfax Board of Elections and saying, hello, can we get the votes? So let's see what happens. We watch that one play out and come down here, battleground Florida. Again, president's starting to inch this one out a little bit. 51-2, 47.8, but 94%. Again, this is Florida. If that holds, by Florida standards, that's a blowout. But we'll see. We'll go back 4 years ago, 49-48. One of the things we are seeing, one of the things we should make note of this, we have it earlier, is that the third-party candidates are not getting the votes they did 4 years ago. So you have winning candidates in states getting over 50%. The national vote still right there. Let's go back to Arizona and see if we've racked it up at all. Up to 73% now, 210,000 votes ahead. Again, 54-45 if you round it up, 49-45 4 years ago. Joe Biden. Maricopa County is the difference right now. And again, the city of Phoenix, the suburbs around it. If you go to Arizona, if you were there 10 years ago and 5 years ago and 5 weeks ago, you just know the change that's happening. This is one of the fastest changing places in America, growing out here in the suburbs. 800,000 votes, just shy of that for Joe Biden right now. I just want to go back and look at the math. Hillary Clinton got 700,000 votes plus 702,703 if you round up Maricopa County 4 years ago. Again, turnout is up everywhere. Joe Biden's already surpassed that. 77% of the vote. It's a fascinating state, and they're fascinating. One of the questions about American politics is what's changing. Is it just a Trump change? Is it, if this finishes tonight, blue?
There are a few counties that haven't even reported.
Yes, they've got nothing in some of these counties here. Apache County out here. Again, there's not a ton of votes out here, but if you just bring it up, 17,000, 8,000. So Maricopa is 60% or more of the vote, depending on the turnout. But it matters if it gets close. It certainly matters. And so that's one of the, you look at it. Every vote counts. I don't mean to discount anybody's vote. Every vote counts. But in terms of the swing of the state, this is going to determine most of it. And you're at 77%. But to your point, when you get this higher, if it's close and you get this higher, that's when you're looking around. And that has been part of the marvel of Donald Trump's winning, is that in places like that, even when he gets beat in the cities, not so much in Arizona, but in some of these other places, again, look at all the red in the middle of the map, right? Not a ton of people live here, but the president runs it up, gets his 6,000 votes here, gets his 14,000 votes here, and you go on and on and on, and that's how he does it. In these smaller counties, turnout is high, he runs it up, and so far, let's come down here. I just want to look one more time. That has stayed exactly the same, 25,482. South Carolina was blue for a little bit early on. You see that one going back to its DNA, the conservative state there. Georgia, not as competitive at the moment. Again, 52% though. So again, you're in this night where you have three different kinds of voting, different states, sometimes within a state, different counties reporting them in different order. The Democrats were hoping right here to have a closer state, but look, Fulton County, still, again, a third of the vote. This is it. This is by far. And so you move around these counties here. You have Cobb here. You move Fulton here. You come out here. It's very slow, 1% here. So we have this is the bulk of the vote in the state.
Georgia potentially could become a lot more competitive because a lot of the major Democratic counties have not reported yet.
Right. Very low percentage here, all around the Atlanta metro area. And again, these are the smaller ones here, but still eighth of the county. So you're looking, Joe Biden's ahead, the 72% here. You move closer into Atlanta, 68% here, but then you come over here, just 1%. And again, you go back in time 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton won pretty big here, and Joe Biden, many believe, will do even better. A, higher turnout, B, suburban rejection of the president. So we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. Maps can be deceptive when you have a big chunk of vote out in the Democratic area here. I just want to check down some other Democratic areas, about halfway there. Not quite, though. So there's more Democratic votes to be had there. Come over to the coast here. About 70% here, so some more votes, but fewer there. So you wait, and you see that's a pretty healthy lead, but it doesn't mean big city like Atlanta, growing suburbs around Atlanta, you can make up some pretty big math when those votes come in, and we'll see when they come in.
I'm curious about Michigan, specifically what percentage of the vote in Detroit has come in?
So we have 30% statewide, then you come down here, and we have less than a third, 28% there. We've been through Wayne County on many an election night, too. Sometimes it goes really late. Sometimes things get a little frustrating, waiting for the count to come in. I'll just use that word. But 147,000, 113,000, 28%. So you come up here again. Now you're going to move up to Oakland County, the suburbs here, about halfway in the count here. This used to be reliably Republican territory, but it has become increasingly Democratic. So here's a question for you, right? Hillary Clinton, 51 to 44 when you round up the president there, 52 to 44 if you round up Secretary Clinton as well. Right now, Donald Trump doing a little better. So let's see what happens there. See if Michigan, again, we're very early in the count here, but that's what you're watching, right? Democrats, to win Michigan, Joe Biden has to, let me move it up a little bit. Joe Biden has to run it up in Detroit and then do well in the suburbs. And again, Macomb County, we're at 35%, so don't jump to any conclusions here. But this is one of the flips, right? This is one of the flips. Barack Obama carried Macomb County twice. Well, we call them pivot counties. You vote twice for Barack Obama, then you flip for Donald Trump. That has Democrats scratching their heads. Why did we lose those voters? And who are those voters? Well, in Macomb County, they work in the auto industry or they work in related industries like that. Blue-collar workers, people who work with their hands. This has been a problem for the Democrats. Joe Biden said he could get them back. So we'll see. We got a long way to go there, so you don't want to jump to any conclusions. But it's also important if you just pull Michigan up again and you go back to 2016, you don't see a ton of blue here, but you come back to 2012, this is the difference, right? Can Joe Biden, can the guy who was number 2 to Barack Obama on the ticket win back some of these areas that Barack Obama won when he carried these states, many of them quite convincingly? You see there, this is Mitt Romney's birth state. I know he moved to Massachusetts, now he's in Utah, but this is where he was born, and Barack Obama beat him by 10 points. So the question is, can Joe Biden get those counties back? We're very early in the county of Michigan right now, a long way to go. And so again, if you're looking at the map from home, you say, if you're a Republican, you say, wow. If you're a Democrat, you say, uh-oh. But we're not done. We got a long way to go.
We certainly do. Let's go check in with Jake, Dana, and Abby.
Thanks, Wolf. So we need to caution our viewers out there. It's early. Whether you're rooting for Trump or you're rooting for Biden, it's early. We're still counting the votes. I don't know if this is 2016 or 2018. You might remember in 2018, things looked really bad for Democrats or uncertain early on. But then, you know, after not just midnight struck, but a couple days, you saw that actually it had been a really great night for Democrats. On the other hand, it could be 2016 with things breaking for President Trump. We don't know. Everyone needs to just take a deep breath out.
Which is hard. I mean, look, this is a nation that is on edge, so it's understandable. But as you said, and as we have been telegraphing as we've approached tonight, it could take a while, and it is bearing out. And what I'm hearing from Democrats in particular, over and over, text after text, let's just wait and see what happens up north. Let's just wait and see what happens, meaning Michigan, Wisconsin, and not as north, but more further north, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Arizona is still an unanswered question about what's going on there, but this is what happens when you have a lot of battlegrounds. And in this cycle, we had a lot of states that were on the grid in terms of competitive races where you're going to have tight competitions between President Trump and Joe Biden, and we have to wait for all the votes to come in to really know where this thing is headed. I do think that based on where we are right now, we're in the choose your own adventure part. We're in the part of the choose your own adventure where we really need the patience. We really need people to just wait until it comes in, because it's not going to be an easy, early, quick night for people. These votes are coming in little by little, and it's tight in a lot of these.
Very tight. And when the polls would say before the election that Joe Biden was up 1 or 2 points in a state, but that was within the margin of error, that meant it was a toss-up, which is what we said.
We're seeing the margin of error play
at the time,
out.
and we still don't know about Florida. We still don't know about Georgia. We still don't know about North Carolina. And as we have also been saying, even if you were to give those states, all of them, to President Trump, and we're not, we're still waiting for a lot of outstanding vote, it really does come up to the 3 states up north: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and also Arizona. Those are the states that the Biden campaign has focused most on. And we still don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that you heard a lot from the Trump folks leading up to today is that they knew their job was just to get their people out and just to get them to the polls and ignore all of the public polling that we've all been talking about and looking at. And you know, I do think that when you look at the Sun Belt, where we knew that there was elevated turnout, the president is still very competitive in those states, the places that he had to hold on to. Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. He had to keep those states, and he's competitive there. And the reason for that is because his people showed up today.
That's exactly right. He needed, this was a turnout election. It wasn't a persuasion election, meaning there weren't a lot of people out there going, do I vote for Joe Biden or do I vote for Donald Trump? Pretty much everybody made up their mind. The question is whether or not they were going to get out and vote. And the Trump campaign has and in cooperation with the RNC, which has been working on its, what they call their voter vault since 2004. They have a really stellar operation, and they actually built it in recent years, modeled after Barack Obama's operation, because his was so good. That campaign's was so good when it came to data, and they've updated it more and more. The Democrats even will admit, and we were talking about this before, that they're a little bit slower on that, but they were relying on some of that, but a lot of enthusiasm.
And I would add that for Democrats, the task was even more difficult because they chose, for a lot of, they would say, really good reasons, not to be on the ground knocking on doors in the way that you might have seen leading up to a normal cycle because of the pandemic.
Right.
So I mean, when I talk to Democrats, everyone acknowledges that is a scenario that nobody anticipated, put them a little bit at a disadvantage, but we may see some of that play out in the places where the president was able to get his people out. Maybe he didn't change any minds, but as long as he got his people out, their argument, their state of the case, their theory of the case.
Yes.
Sorry, I cannot speak tonight. Is that as long as they do that, they can be competitive. And that's the big question. He had to defend his term.
So, and first of all, you have to give credit to President Trump, even when it looked a few weeks ago like this thing was gone and out of his reach. He did work his tail off and get out there and get out to those counties and rally his supporters. And obviously, that has paid off at the very least in making this race so competitive. And again, we don't know where it's going to end up. We have no idea. We still have yet to hear from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and we're starting to hear from Arizona.
Yeah.
But also, I think, I just know that there are a lot of people out there who maybe paid attention only to the most Trump-hating pundits out there who were saying for weeks, if not months, that this was going to be a landslide. And, as they say, you can't get high on your own supply, right? You need
Do they say that?
You need to be able to listen to everyone and all the pundits, left, right,
I feel like
center,
I'm learning
and
so
look
much
at the
about
data.
so much tonight, Jake.
Well, I just think that there are some people out there who are disappointed
No,
because
you're
they
right.
thought this thing was going to be over when
By the way, he's an incumbent president who has inherited.
But not just that, he has remarkably enthusiastic, loyal supporters all across the country.
But again, we're still waiting to hear.
We are.
Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona. Wolf?
All right, Jake, thank you. We love the commentary. Let's get a key race alert right now. Take a look at this. Arizona right now, 75% of the estimated vote is in. And Joe Biden has an impressive lead right now, a lead of more than 208,000 votes, 53.7% to 45%, 11 electoral votes in Arizona. More than a third of the vote is in New Hampshire right now. Biden has a 27,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.8% to 44.8%. In Minnesota, more than a third of the vote is in there, and Biden has an impressive 285,000 vote lead over Trump, 61.4% to 36.6%. In Iowa right now, 19% of the vote is in. Biden's lead is 85,000, 61% to 36.9%. We've got some more states right now. Let's take a look at these other states that are coming in. Michigan, a third of the vote is now in. Trump is ahead by some 210,000 votes, 54.7% to 43.4%. In Pennsylvania, almost a third of the vote is in. Trump is ahead by 179,000 votes, 53.4% to 45.2%. In Wisconsin, a third of the vote is in. It's very, very close. Trump is ahead by some 20,000 votes, 50% to 48.3%. In Georgia right now, more than half of the vote is in. Trump has a pretty comfortable lead in Georgia of 348,000 votes. Right now, 55.4%. We have a projection right now. Take a look at this. CNN projects that Joe Biden will win in New Mexico right now. Take a look at that. Joe Biden wins in New Mexico. There he is, the winner in New Mexico. That's 5 electoral votes in New Mexico. So let's see where the Electoral College map stands right now. Right now, with that win in New Mexico, Biden has 94 electoral votes. Trump has 72 electoral votes. The all-important race to 270 needed to win, 94 to 72 right now. 270 being the magic number. You're elected president if you get 270 votes. What are you seeing?
Well, you're seeing a map right now that is going to make Democrats nervous, and so which is why we need to emphasize the point that when you see red Pennsylvania, red Michigan, and red Wisconsin, we are very, 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 very early in the count there. However, if you look at this map right now, the name of the game, if you're Joe Biden, is takeaway, because Donald Trump's the incumbent president who won last time. And so we're not done yet. We're not done yet by any means, but you look at North Carolina, the president's stretching a lead out here, 89%. It's a modest lead, 42,423, but 49.8 to 49. Joe Biden had a lead early on. Donald Trump's election day surge puts him back in the lead. Can he hold it? We'll watch that as we play it out, but Republicans feel good about that. We're coming down to Florida now, and you look here, a 5.6 million for the president, 5.2. Higher turnout in Florida, a very competitive race. Again, we have to wait. We're going to count some things here, but Democrats are not happy, particularly with down here in Miami-Dade, 53%. You think 53, 46, you think that's great, but that's way below where Hillary Clinton was 4 years ago. So you're looking at this map here. The plus side for the Democrats is out here in Arizona, where Joe Biden right now, 75% of the vote, 54 if you round up to 45. That's a big shift from 4 years ago when the president won at 49, 45, a 4-point race. You see the president, Joe Biden, the Democrat, above 50 there. So let's just put this into context. Number one, this was the name of the game in 2016. We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. Some of these states could go on into tomorrow. But as you look at this map, many Democrats say it does raise the scenario many of them are worried about. An hour or two from now, is the president going to come out and say, I win, if he's still leading in those states? We're not done. That's not how we count. These states will decide who wins their elections, and we have a lot of votes to count. But the question is, the name of the game, well, if I'm going to switch maps here, is this is where we are right now, 94 to 72. There are no surprises on this map so far. Everything we see filled in is the way we thought it would go coming into the night. There are also, though, if you think about out here, where we haven't counted votes yet because it's still early in the night, people are still voting. We don't think there are any more surprises out that way, if you will. Nevada was the one Clinton state. The Trump campaign made a run. We'll see. But we expect that to stay Democratic, which is why things get interesting now. Again, we haven't called some of these close states, but this is the calculation in both of the campaign war rooms. This is where Donald Trump started. Joe Biden has to look at this map and say, what do I take away to get him below 270 and to get me to 270? So Joe Biden wanted Florida. Not yet. We'll see. We'll keep counting. Doesn't look that way. Wanted North Carolina. Donald Trump has a lead right now. We'll see. We'll get to the finish line. Georgia, we got a lot of votes out. The Democrats had these targets of opportunity. Can we get these states can we get a surge? We'll watch Georgia. We're still missing a lot of Democratic votes. Texas is filling in red. Again, we haven't called it. We have a ways to go, but it's filling in red right now. So far, you look like you're getting that, right? We're not done. We're not done in Arizona yet either. But as you project it out, so okay, now you got the president at 295. If you're not going to get Ohio, haven't called it yet, we're waiting. There's a possibility some votes out. North Carolina or Florida, where do you go? Well, then we come back. Number one, let's just assume for the sake of argument, Joe Biden gets the congressional district here. Hard to see if there is a Trump election day surge. The president went out here and did a rally, but the Democrats are pretty confident they're going to pick up the one in the 2nd District of Nebraska. So let's do that for the hypothetical. We'll watch as it plays out. Then you're at 293 to 245. So then we come down to where we ended 4 years ago, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, right? And so Joe Biden, 1, 2, gets you to the finish line. You don't absolutely need Pennsylvania. If you win Maine's 2nd Congressional District, if you win Nebraska's 2nd Congressional District, and you hold Arizona, you can do it without Florida, without Georgia, without North Carolina, without Ohio, and without Pennsylvania. But you have to win these two, right? If you can win this as well, then it's game over. We've always known if Joe Biden could rebuild the blue wall, forgive me, Donald Trump would pay for it. The question is, can he make it happen? overwhelming bulk of the votes. The way it gets started in Pennsylvania is Philadelphia and the suburban collar around it. I'll just bring this up a little bit. And we don't have many votes. We're still in the single digits or the early teens. We got a long way to go. And so then you come over, you move over to the middle of the state. Again, 52% here, Harrisburg. The president, we know the president is going to run it up in places like this. You know, you get these counties here, 95%, of the vote in here. The president has 70, 68%. The president has 82. Not a lot of people live here, but again, this is how the president does it. In the smaller, more rural counties, he runs it up big. So the challenge again is, we talked about Joe Biden not leading in Ohio right now, but more competitive than Hillary Clinton. Is can he be more competitive in places like Washington County? Right now it's 60.9. One that a lot of people were looking at. There was a Trump rally here just the other day. Westmoreland County, 28% in, 63 to 36 if you round it up, 64 to 33. It's pretty close. We'll see Biden maybe a little bit higher than Hillary Clinton 4 years ago. That could matter if it's very close. And we'll watch Allegheny as well, but a long way to count.
Quick break. We have a lot more coming up right after this.
Or intelligent, and that's the consistency that we try to get at.
Fareed Zakaria, GPS, Sundays on CNN.
Is that an elefunky?
Hey there, guys. Any room in the middle?
No.
80% bacteria.
the perspective. And if the president holds that one as well, that gets you up. And if the president holds North Carolina, you start moving up, right? The bigger states, the double digits, if you will, big double digits here, 30 plus, 20 plus, 50. You move it, then you're just moving up the math when you do the big ones. So that's what they're looking at in the Trump campaign right now. If we hold Texas, and they think they will.
Tell them to hold on. Tell them to hold on. So right now at this hour, Joe Biden has 187 electoral votes. Donald Trump has 114. Again, right now is a complete repeat of the 2016 map. All the big battleground states are still in play. More key ones. This could be a new state in play for 2020. Arizona. Let's take a seat. That's been a long-time Republican state. Right now, with 75% of these
turnout up across America in this election, that looks good. That doesn't mean we're done. We have to count them. Let's just look at Maricopa County, 77%. If this holds up, if the trend lines hold up, this is where 60% plus of your votes are. If you keep a 10-point margin in Maricopa County with high turnout like this, you're going to win the state of Arizona. But we're not done yet as we do it. But as we go through the race to 270, and you're Joe Biden, Donald Trump had 306 last time. You need to take away. It's simple. Just do the subtraction. And where do you get them? Arizona would be a start, an important start. It's protection, if you will. It's a safety blanket, but that's it. That's the name of the game. It was 4 years ago, and it sure looks like it's about to be for the rest of tonight and into tomorrow. That's the guess. That's the guess, Wolf, as you go through it. So I just come back out again. I just want to look at this one again because getting a lot of texts and emails from Republicans and Democrats saying, whoa, what's happening in Virginia? Again, 153,000 votes ahead, 52 to 46. That's actually a smaller lead than we saw earlier in the night. I just want to keep coming in here. And we're still waiting. It's not that we could hop in the car and drive over there and be there in 15 minutes. But Fairfax County, Virginia, there's something going on. In Fairfax County, Virginia, we only have 28% of the vote, and it's been that way for a long time. This is a giant basket of Democratic votes. If you follow governor's races, if you follow Mark Warner's Senate campaign a couple of years ago, that's the way it's gone. All of a sudden, a big dump of votes come in. But we're going to keep watching that because it's interesting. Just want to check down here in North Carolina again. 50 to 49 when you round up, 94% in. 69,000 votes. Again, Republicans feel good about this, but we'll keep counting and see what happens in North Carolina. One more time, just want to look at normally the closest of all battlegrounds, 94% in Florida, 51-47 there in Florida. Again, you're looking at the map. There's a lot of red, including in places that the Biden campaign was hopeful it could turn blue. You see Iowa's blue right now. We're not sure if that will last. It's competitive, though. It's a fun one to watch as we go through the night. Still a lot of math to do, Wolf. A lot of anxiety in both campaigns right now.
Yeah, they're nervous on both sides. Voting is about to end in 4 states out west. That includes the biggest prize of all. We're talking about California. It has 55 of the 78 electoral votes at stake this hour. All right, we have some projections right now. CNN projects that Joe Biden will win the state of California. That's the biggest prize in the Electoral College. 55 electoral votes. Biden will win California, beats Trump in California. CNN also projects that Biden will win in Washington state. 12 electoral votes. He beats Trump in Washington state. CNN also projects Biden will win in the state of Oregon. 7 electoral votes there. Biden wins in Oregon right now. One projection for Donald Trump right now, CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the state of Wyoming. That's 3 electoral votes. In Idaho, too early to call, 4 electoral votes in Idaho. We can make a projection there. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map, see where it stands right now. Right now, Biden has a wide lead. He has 192 Electoral College votes. Trump has 108. 192 to 108. Let's get a key race alert in some of the battleground states where things stand. Let's start in Pennsylvania. 41% of the estimated vote is now in. Trump has seemingly a pretty comfortable 444,000 vote lead over Biden, 56.8% to 41.5%. In Michigan right now, 39% of the estimated vote is in. Trump has a significant lead there right now as well, 239,000 vote, but it's relatively early. 39% of the estimated vote is in, and the early vote, which skews Democratic, is not yet in. In Wisconsin, 42% of the vote is in. Look at how close it is. Trump has a 25,000 vote lead over Biden, 50% to 48.3%, 10 electoral votes in Wisconsin. In Arizona, 75% of the vote is in, and Biden has a significant lead in Arizona, 208,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.7% to 45%, 11 electoral votes at stake over there. Let's go back to John King. All right, so right now, Biden has a significant 192 to 108 lead in the all-important Electoral College battle.
And the West Coast, which again, when I started doing this many years ago, this was competitive territory. Not anymore. Washington, Oregon, California, locks for the Democrats in presidential politics, and that's those are great building blocks, right? They're not competitive anymore. The only reasons Republicans go to California now is to raise money. 192 to 108. So now the question is, you need to get to 270. This is the hard part. I hate to say it this way, but it's easy for a Democrat to get to 192. It's just easy given you know Illinois, you know New York, you know California, you know Washington and Oregon are going to be on your side. So the question is, working off this map, let's work. Since you're now at 192, you try to get there. How do you get there working off this map? Well, that's a Clinton state, right? Trump campaign's trying to flip it, but let's, for the sake of argument, assume it stays Democratic. We'll watch and we'll count as we go. That was a Trump state. Joe Biden is leading right now there. If it holds that way, out here, look at this, Colorado, New Mexico, the West Coast will be good to the Democrats in the Southwest if this happens. So that would get you to 209. So then you come this way, you're looking at the map, right? Where are the Clinton states? That was a Clinton state, right? So you think that's going to happen for you. And you keep looking at the map here. Virginia, which is really interesting right now, it is still red. You just assume, and we'll see if it's a change. If it's that kind of a night, it's that kind of a night. But you assume that one's going to come back into the fold, and they're just waiting for Democratic votes to come in. They're having a problem in a county or something. That gets you there. Then you come up to Maine, and you assume if you're the Biden campaign, you're going to win the whole thing. We need to see this. Maine does it by congressional district. There's one of them that President Trump carried 4 years ago. The Democrats believe they're going to carry that state. They believed a few other things about tonight, so we'll see what happens as we go through. But let's, for the sake of argument, give it to them. So then you're up to 236, right? Maybe they get one in Nebraska. Let's just leave that off the table right now. Let's just wait and see how you play. So you're at 236, right? There's 246. That's 262. That's 262. So you're looking at this map, and where do I get it, right? Where do I get it? Well, that's the easiest one. And we still don't have, I didn't get Rhode Island on this map, so let me come in here. There we go. So you get Rhode Island. That would get you 286, but that's with Pennsylvania. That's with Pennsylvania. You bring Pennsylvania back off the map, you're at 266. This is where you get close here, right? This is where you get close here. We're going to keep going out to the west, and we do that. That gets you to 270. So could it be in a race against Donald Trump, wouldn't it be something if Barack Obama's birth state is the one that puts you over the top? That would be interesting if you go that way there. But so you have Hawaii, you have Nevada and Colorado. We're going to watch. So this is interesting. So you don't need Pennsylvania if you're Joe Biden now, but now you're in this different mood in Biden headquarters. You came into the night thinking you had all this great opportunity. Maybe some of these will come back. But if they don't, you're thinking, okay, we better win that congressional district. We absolutely better win that one. And then we're going to fight it out up in here. And again, if you get Pennsylvania, then stop the conversation. But we might be a couple days on this one. If you don't get Pennsylvania, you're in a scratch and claw mode now, as opposed to early in the night where you thought you might have had a buffet of opportunity.
Let's take a closer look at Arizona and Pennsylvania.
Let me do that and cross over again. We come back in here. And let's start in Arizona. We'll go west to east this time. And again, this one has held up pretty consistently, but we've also been waiting for a little bit. Sometimes you get votes in spurts. Sometimes you have long pauses. We're at 75% right now. That's 8 points, 9 points if you round up right there. That's a pretty healthy lead. Most of it's coming from here in terms of the vote count. You see, just in Maricopa.
In 2016, there really could have been much more daylight between these two candidates as far as how they're saying. Yeah, I'm going to take that to Jen Ashton because Jen, you've seen all through this campaign such different visions on how to handle the pandemic from Joe Biden and from Donald Trump. As the entire country, basically, more than 42 states are in the grip of this second wave.
Fairfax has been at 28% for a long time. I'll check in with our decision team and our desk team in a little bit to see where that is. Some of these other places, Loudoun County, Joe Biden holding that there. You come over Fairfax County, we're waiting. Northern Virginia, Arlington. So it's Fairfax. Fairfax is the biggest basket of Democratic votes we're missing. I just want to check down here in Southeast Virginia. See Chesapeake area here, 60% of the vote in there. So we're missing some votes in Democratic areas that could flip that. But if you're in the Biden campaign, you're getting a little bit nervous about that, even though your data and your math tell you should be okay. But at this point of the night, you'd like it to change. And again, we're just waiting on these three, and this is the patience.
It'll take some time, and all three of those are. We got a key race alert right now. I want to go to Nebraska right now, the 2nd congressional district. There, 57% of the vote is in. Biden is ahead by some 16,000 votes, 53.4% to 44.8% for Trump. John, this is one electoral vote potentially in Nebraska if Biden can hold on.
So let me come back over here if Biden can hold on. So we're waiting. Nebraska and Maine do their congressional votes by. Let me pull it out like this. Nebraska and Maine do their votes by congressional district, their electoral college votes. So again, especially now, if you're in the Biden campaign and you're thinking, we might not get Florida, we might not get Georgia, we might not get North Carolina. Looks like our dreams of Texas are not going to happen this year. Closer, but close doesn't count. Doesn't get you the electoral votes. If you're at this point in the campaign where normally you think, well, what's one? Guess what? One can matter. And so, again, in this scenario, this is a scenario on the board here, so let me just take these away, right? You know, if you can hold this, you're moving closer, right? You're moving closer. That's assuming Virginia flips back, and that's assuming you hold Arizona and Nevada stays. So these are just, that would be a change. Donald Trump carried that, and that would be a change. Trump carried that. So that's what you're looking to do. Trump had 306 last time. If you're Biden, you have to subtract from that to get him down below 270. That's one, and that's progress, but these are the big ones. These are the big ones. Again, when you're in the tight part of the campaign, if you think you're going to have that close of a race, and it sure looks like we are, then every one counts. And so and this includes the main one up here. So the math gets really interesting. And again, if you can do this, just forget about it. Because if you're doing this, you're most likely doing that, and you're probably doing that. We always knew. Joe Biden said, a lot of Democrats said, focus on the Sun Belt. Joe Biden said, no, I'm going to start here, and then maybe I'll expand. If he can do this, we're going to spend a lot of time, and these ones may take, some of them, again, we may be into tomorrow and beyond. At the moment, we don't know that, though. At the moment, these are to be decided, and that would push, and again, if you come at this from a Republican perspective, I did Joe Biden's math to get him up. Donald Trump's leading here. He's leading here. He's leading here. We expect him to win here. That's his. This one's interesting. We expect him to get this. And these normally would be Trump states out here.
Alaska.
And Alaska. So, again, we're open to being surprised. But if it plays out in a traditional map, that's where we're going to be. That's where we'll be as we go to the West Coast, somewhere in that ballpark. This is not an exact science, but somewhere in that ballpark looking at Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and maybe Iowa. and the one more congressional district there. That's the way the map looks right now, that we're going to have that tense. And we'll see. Sometime, again, we've had some surprises so far, but we haven't had many flips. We've had some tension. We've had back and forth, and we'll see how it goes. Right now, the only flip on the board is Arizona, maybe that congressional district. We're going to count votes, and again, it's fun for us. It's tense. If you're in the campaign headquarters right now, it is really tense.
Both campaigns, they're very, very
absolutely
nervous right now. But this election is basically different because there's so much early voting that occurred, especially in those blue wall 3 states. And that apparently that early vote, which skews Democratic, has not really been counted yet.
No, and so that's the issue. And I would switch over, and I switch this back. We go through these hypotheticals. It's not to alarm you at home. We go through them. I like to switch it back at the end, so just if you do see it again, you understand where we are, not where we might be. This is where we are in terms of votes. And everything here, this is all real. It's just some of it's not contextual yet because we're waiting. We have pieces of votes, but we're missing pieces of vote. And again, at this point in the night, I don't think a lot of people thought Donald Trump would be leading in the popular vote, but we have a long way to go. But it's significant, 51% to 47%. He's 3 million votes ahead. He's 3 million votes ahead. We don't have any votes from California, the nation's most populous state. So that's going to change. We know that without a doubt. As the West Coast comes in, we know that without a doubt. But we also know, Pennsylvania is not a small state either, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we have not much in so far. 1.6 to 1.2, just to go back in time. And remember, 2.9, 2.9. We have a long way to go, and turnout is higher this time, right? So this is just shy, this is just shy of 6. You add in, it's just shy of 6 million, and we're not there. We're just not there. And so if you're looking at the map as a Republican, you're grateful that it's red, but it's really early on. We got a long way to go. And again, I'm going to be a broken record here, but we're looking at Northampton County here, maybe 40% of the vote, a little shy of that. You come down here to Bucks County, key suburb just outside of Philadelphia. This is the more conservative of the suburbs in the call around Philadelphia. 12% of the vote, maybe. You come down to Montgomery County, again, big suburban area, absolutely critical to the Democrats. So you see that Trump lead right now, but we haven't counted most of the votes in Montgomery County. We haven't counted most of the votes in Chester County. We haven't counted most of the votes in Delaware County, and the biggest basket of them all, Philadelphia City, and then Philadelphia County around it, the suburbs around it. It's going to be overwhelmingly Democratic, and we haven't counted hardly any of it.
Only 22% of the vote.
We haven't,
Philadelphia County is in.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at a football game and just saying, okay, first quarter, end it. It's not the way it works.
I want to check in with Pamela Brown. She's getting some new information on what's going on in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, you're talking about Philadelphia right there, and it's slow going through the influx of mail-in ballots. They've gone through around 76,000 mail-in ballots, and they have a lot more to go. In total, they have around 350,000 to get to. That's according to the city commissioner there. It's the same story over in Allegheny County. That, of course, is another big county there that has Pittsburgh, the home of Pittsburgh. They also have 350,000 mail-in ballots to get through. And in the Philadelphia suburbs alone, you have more than 500,000 mail-in ballots to get to. So I think, as we're looking at this, as we're looking at the numbers slowly coming in there in Pennsylvania, it is keeping us on the edge of our seats, especially in Philadelphia, that Democratic stronghold, John King, where we had 350,000 mail-in ballots they're going through. Right now, though, like I said, they've only gone through 76,000. That is behind schedule than what they thought. They thought by around 8 p.m. Eastern time, they would have 100,000 counted. So they're behind schedule a little bit there. And I'm told by officials they're going to be working through the night trying to quickly tabulate the influx of mail-in ballots that they got there in Pennsylvania. Remember, they just started this morning opening up those ballots. They were way behind compared to other states. They did not get a head start. And Pennsylvania is a state that does not have a history of counting absentee ballots. In Allegheny County, again, where Pittsburgh is, you have 350,000 ballots that they're having to get through there. And I'm told by officials, again, in Allegheny County, they're going to be working through the night to try to get everything tabulated. But one person I spoke to said, look, this is going to keep us in suspense because they just have to work through it through the night. And we may not have a better idea in terms of the total tabulation for those mail-in ballots for a bit, John.
Would we get on the phone from Iowa several years ago, Enid? And we may have to do that again. Look. This is where it gets interesting in the sense that the question is, will everybody have patience? And by everybody, I mean the American people, the people who live in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and the candidates for president, because you know this. Look, so they have all these mail-in ballots. This is Allegheny County. I'll get rid of the numbers here just to remind you. So look, Joe Biden's leading right now at 98,000 votes. The president has 23,000 votes. It's just not, I mean, it's real in the sense that these are real votes, but it's just not contextual in the sense that we know it's a higher turnout election than 4 years ago, and Hillary Clinton won this county with 367,000 votes. So when you see right now Joe Biden leading at 98,000 votes, we are in the early chapter of a very big book because it's such a big state. And so that's the key point. The challenge is, do we get more in the next hour? How long does this take? What do we start to get? Will we hear from the Secretary of State about this is going to go into tomorrow? We already know there were 6 or 8 counties that said they wouldn't even start counting the mail-in ballots to tomorrow. The Secretary of State was leaning on them to get them to try to start today if they weren't overwhelmed on Election Day. And remember, I just mentioned Philadelphia. We don't have to. This is not conjecture because we have the words of the President of the United States, who has spent the last couple of days saying he believes there's cheating and there's fraud in Philadelphia. The question is, many of his advisors have been urging him, stay off Twitter, stop talking about this, let this play out. But does the president lose patience as this night goes on?
We're told that in Pennsylvania, John, more than 1 million mail-in ballots, Pamela Brown was telling us, more than 1 million have not yet been counted.
Right, so more than 1 million. So you come back again, you come back out and you see 1.7 to 1.3, 370,000 vote lead, 373,000 vote lead, but you know more than 1 million. Again, more than 1 million have not been counted. So this is real, but it's just now. Again, if it's a baseball game, we're in the 2nd or the 3rd inning at best. Right? If it's a football game, we're in an early quarter. Pick your sport. We're early in the game. You always want to build a lead. You'd rather be leading than behind.
Biden has a 264,000 vote lead over Trump, 57.3% to 40% in Minnesota, 10 electoral votes there. In Iowa right now, 59% of the estimated vote is in. Very close. Biden's lead is almost 40,000 over Trump, 50.9% to 47.3%, 6 electoral votes in Iowa right now. Let's go back to John King as we're watching this. So the count continues, 192
going to repeat this again. Right now, this is not necessarily unexpected. Yeah, this is not unexpected. Remember, the mail-in vote, which we expect to be overwhelmingly Democratic, didn't even start counting. It possibly start counting until today. So I fully expect that Biden's lead will increase as it goes on, not just tonight, but over the coming days. I mean, in Pennsylvania, they've told us that Friday is the very earliest. In fact, Pennsylvania will still accept absentee votes that come in.
Just a second.
They had 10 hours to process. They had an army of volunteers come in so that at 7 a.m. this morning, with double the number of speed counting machines, they were able to get to work, and they believe they're getting to work much faster. That said, they've also seen record turnout in Detroit. I spoke earlier to the NAACP Reverend Anthony, and he said that they had 100 miles fan looking for voter intimidation. They ended up bringing souls to the polls, as the Reverend told me. But at the same time, Republicans are also incredibly about ground 9 million voter contacts during this season, that every time they were out canvassing, they never saw any Democrats, and they cannot tell you enough about the enthusiasm that they see and they viscerally feel every time there are these giant rallies, so many of which took place in the battleground state of Michigan. And folks, don't get me started on the lawn signs, but you see them all over. You know you're in a battleground in these suburbs when there's a Biden sign on one side, the Trump signs on the other. I went to a Trump volunteer meeting, a packed room, and the organizer said, how many of you have had your lawn sign stolen or vandalized? And almost the entire room's hands went up. It says something about just how tense the battleground is here out in the suburbs.
It sure does. Now, Mary, picked up any concern in the Biden kept picking up what John Farrell was saying about the way the votes are coming in Michigan and how they're coming in?
The reader inside the Biden campaign right now is urging Republicans and patients that they look there feeling fine, and that is because this was expected. They knew that many of these candidates, especially the they were going to take some time. That said, there has been a shift in tone, given the real enthusiasm that we were hearing from members of the Biden team heading into tonight. Now you hear more of the words hopeful, optimistic, but they were really bullish earlier in the night. Now not so much of that, but for now, they started to bring in the cars here to this drive-in rally, but really trying to pick up the tea leaves here. Not sure what that means about whether we may or may not see Joe Biden later tonight, but of course, so changed his tune there, saying he may actually not be until tomorrow.
Well, perhaps they will be ready for him to speak. We're going to keep an eye on that. Of course, we're going to be here as long as the votes are being counted. Tonight, we're going to take another.
Democrats did believe, and the polls said, they had an opportunity. Opportunity is not winning. You have an opportunity to win states, you have to execute. I think one of the things we're seeing so far, and you have to tip your hat to the president worked hard in the final days of the campaign. The president staged rallies all around the country, and it seems that his rallies actually generated a high election day turnout, which is what they absolutely needed. Is it high enough? We're not there yet. But you do know that some of these states have moved in the president's direction. Again, we're up to 94% in Florida. Can you overcome 381,000 votes when you're this far up? Unlikely, not impossible. We're waiting to see. And again, because of the differences of this year and the different mix of votes, our people are working extra hard, and so are all these election officials. Florida, they were quick, right? The early count was very quick in Florida. We're going to get to the finish line just to pop in and look at a place at 95%, right? In a place that's voting Democratic. So if you're Joe Biden, where can you get more votes? Again, the disappointment in the Democratic Party tonight is right here, not only at the presidential level, but at the House level as well. Some pain in Miami-Dade County. It looks like we're not at the finish line yet, but you see 53% right there. You see 63% right there. That tells you all you need to know about that. So you just come back out on the map. And again, one more real quick, North Carolina, 74,000 votes at 95%, 50 to 49. It's very close, but again, a state the president barnstormed at the end of the campaign. Looks like he generated a lot of election day turnout. Is it enough? We're not quite there yet. But if you're looking at the map right now, again, we'll get to the finish line soon enough. Some places, maybe not sooner for the people watching at home. You have to tip your hat to the president for moving the needle in some of these states, see if it's enough to get him to the finish line. And yes, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the three most spoken words in presidential politics the last 4 years, and again tonight.
We'll be patient. Let's check in with Dana Bash. She's got an update on the balance of power in the U.S. Senate. What are you learning, Dana?
We have some projections to make, Wolf, and that starts with Alabama. CNN can project that Republicans pick up a seat there. Tommy Tuberville will go on to be the very first term in the Senate there, beating Doug Jones, a Democrat. And in South Carolina, this is one of the most watched races in the country. Senator Lindsey Graham, CNN can project, is going on to win re-election, defeating an incredibly well-funded Democratic challenger. And in Georgia, this is one of two races we're watching tonight. This is the special election. CNN can project that this will go to a runoff. In the state of Georgia, a candidate needs 50% in order to win outright. That has not happened. So Democrat Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler, who is the incumbent appointed Republican, will go on to that runoff in January. Now let's look at some of the tight races we are watching in the battlegrounds for the balance of power. Arizona. The Democratic challenger, Mark Kelly, is ahead by more than 200,000 votes at 55.1%. The incumbent Republican, Martha McSally, is at 44.9%. 75% of the estimated vote is in Arizona. Now let's go on to Iowa. The Democratic challenger is ahead there as well. Teresa Greenfield, it's very, very tight. 599 votes only. She's at 48.6%. The incumbent Republican Joni Ernst at 48.5%. And in Montana, the Democratic challenger is ahead. They're very early. Steve Bullock, the former, or the governor, I should say, is ahead by about 12,000 votes. So let's look at what this all means right now. 3 Democrats are leading in Republican Senate seats. Democrats are back to needing 4 seats to pick up in order. 42 seats. Republicans have 42 seats, and 16 seats remain to be called tonight. Wolf.
So important what's happening in the Senate. All right, thanks very much, Dana. Look at a key race alert right now. Let's see where things stand. Let's start off in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. 46% of the vote is in. Trump has a 436,000 vote lead over Biden, 56% to 42%. In Wisconsin, more than half of the vote is in, 53%. Trump has an 81,000 vote lead over Biden. It's relatively close, 51.3% to 47%. In Michigan right now, 44% of the vote is in. Trump still has a lead of about 274,000 votes over Biden, 54.5% to 43.6%. Let's go back to Jake. Jake, these 3 states potentially could hold the key to who's going to be the next president.
That's right. We're all looking at the blue wall. It was a blue wall until 2016 when Donald Trump smashed it. Now, of course, Joe Biden hoping to rebuild it. So let's go check in with our correspondents who are in those 3 states. Let's start with Miguel Marquez, who is in Detroit, Michigan, where we're told the turnout is higher than it has ever been. Miguel, what can you tell us about the votes that are outstanding? We are waiting to hear how Michigan voted this election season.
Yeah, we know a couple of things. We know that the vote in Detroit, the biggest sort of Democratic stronghold, they are expecting between 53 and 55% of voters to turn out in this election. That doesn't sound like a very high turnout, but when you consider that Donald Trump won Michigan by 10,704 votes back in 2016, that could be a critical difference. Also, across the entire state, they are expecting a record turnout across the entire state. It is not clear how that will affect the vote count for either candidate. We also know that they are still counting. This is a receiving board where the Detroit Lions play, Ford Field, where they are going to receive votes, day of votes all day long. Those absentee ballots, they are still being counted as well. The city of Detroit getting through a huge tranche of those. We should be seeing some of those votes coming in very soon as well. So votes being counted in Michigan. In the hours ahead, we expect to see much more vote come in. And rather than taking 3 days for the vote to be finalized here, or at least an unofficial result, they believe that in the next 24 hours or so, we will have an unofficial result of who will win Michigan.
All right, Miguel Marquez in Michigan, thank you so much. Let us turn a little bit east to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where we find Sarah Murray. Sarah, there are millions of votes that were cast early in Pennsylvania. With the vote right now in Pennsylvania has Donald Trump 1.8 million, Joe Biden 1.4 million, but there's still more than half the ballots waiting to be counted. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, Jake, look, there is a lot of outstanding vote here in the Keystone State, and this is not going to be a process that moves particularly fast. That's what election officials have been warning us about. We know there are a lot of these big counties, Philadelphia County, Bucks County, Chester County. Issues, they're not having any problems. It just takes a while. And the Secretary of State just wrapped up a press conference here. She said, essentially, we need to stay patient. You also need to be prepared for these vote totals to kind of come through overnight in fits and starts, right? They've been reporting day of totals, then they've been going through, opening more ballots, removing those from the inner envelope, putting them through the scanner, and then uploading bunches at a time. So just as you pointed out, this is going to come in fits and starts throughout the night. We may know by tomorrow morning a little bit something more. It may take a while. You know, the Secretary of State was saying these counties are working as fast as they can and as hard as they can. We know, like I said, a lot of these places are working overnight. It is just going to take a while, and it is the first time that Pennsylvania has had mail-in ballots to this capacity. And remember, they couldn't start opening them until 7 a.m. this morning.
All right, Sarah Murray in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Let's go to Bill Weir, one of Wisconsin's favorite sons, who is in Madison. Bill, tell us about turnout in Wisconsin. We're waiting to hear who the Badger State picked to be their president.
Well, it looks like it's going to be a record turnout like most of the rest of the country, Jake, but it is still very early. In fact, some of the election officials in Milwaukee say they won't have their final numbers in until 5 a.m. And that, of course, will be expected to be a huge blue boost for President or Vice President Biden when those numbers come in. Just looking at the wow counties around Milwaukee, Waukesha, Ozaukee, Washington County, a little bit better than they were 4 years ago for the Democrats. Trump is still leading in those. He won Fond du Lac County a little bit better than he did 4 years ago. But I've been texting with the head of the Milwaukee Democrats, who said he thinks feels like stronger than expected in the Milwaukee suburbs for them, even though Trump is winning those right now. Possibly softer turnout in Milwaukee, they think. Blowout in Madison, likely a red mirage, blue shift kind of night. They think they're shaving those margins around Milwaukee, that they aren't as wide as they were for Hillary Clinton. But as right behind me, we're waiting as all of the wards here in Madison start to deliver all their ballots here to the election supervisor here. So it's going to be a long night in America's Dairyland, Jake.
All right, Bill Weir, thank you so much. We'll check in with you in a little bit, and let's talk about this. I do feel like we've been saying for a long time that, A, anything could happen. This is a very competitive race, and B, that it's really going to come down to these 3 states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and C, that we're not going to probably know who won those states because of all the early vote, the night of election night, and all of that is happening, and yet it still feels like people out there didn't hear us when we were telling them that in the previous weeks.
And well, I think people hear what they want to hear or need to hear at any given moment, understandably, given how tense the country is. I'll add one state to what you just said, which is Arizona, which also could be a tipping state. And the early vote is the one that Democrats feel the most confident about because they encourage their voters to go and vote early. And so that is the missing piece of these vote totals that we just haven't seen yet, which is a really key piece because it could change the dynamic abruptly. And this is, and I'm talking about early vote in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, those three blue wall states.
We just can't draw any conclusions right now about what's going on up there. And even Arizona is still unknown. But even if we did know Arizona, we would still need to wait on those states to count all of their votes to really get a clear sense of what is going on. So, yeah, we're asking for patience, but I also think that it's important for people to recognize that this is kind of the opposite of what we were seeing earlier in the night, when we were getting a lot of mail votes from states like Florida, and it was looking okay for Biden. Now we're getting a lot of election day votes from those states, and those are going to benefit Trump. We just have to wait and see. We can't even say really what is happening in some of these counties because the percentage of the vote is so low, you can't draw any real conclusion.
And just to underscore what we're all saying is the early votes in Michigan, Wisconsin, and especially Pennsylvania are the votes that we expected to counted last.
Right.
Particularly in Pennsylvania, because that's the law for some reason in Pennsylvania. And so,
well, the Democrats tried to change it.
They did.
And the Republicans in the legislature wouldn't let them for whatever reason.
Well,
That's
I think
the
we
facts.
know the reason.
Well, whatever it is, that's the reason. They're counting now. It takes a long time. I don't know if this feels like 2016 when Donald Trump pulled this huge upset and surprised everybody, or it feels like 2018 where Democrats actually had a really good night. It just took longer than a night.
But Jake, I want to go back to something that you said at the beginning of the night, and you keep saying, which is, it feels like 2020 because, meaning it's not unlike any other year, because going into tonight, in most of these battleground states, the candidates were within the margin of error.
Right.
Yeah. That definition means it is a close race in all of these states, and that is what we are seeing play out right now.
Yeah.
And it's a divided country. It's a divided country. It's a close election.
One thing that we can say based on how close the race is in some of the places that Donald Trump was really at risk of losing is that the Republicans really delivered in the sense that they were able to keep those races close and in their direction as we speak right now. We're looking at a map in which a lot of states are red because they're trending red and they need to stay that way. And for President Trump, that is a really important thing because we would be having a completely different conversation tonight if we were talking about Joe Biden actually expanding the map in a serious way early on in the night.
Yeah. Wolf, back to you.
All right, guys, thank you. Let's get a key race alert right now. Let's start off in the 2nd Congressional District in Nebraska. One electoral vote is at stake. 57% of the estimated vote is in Biden has a 16,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.4% to 44.8%. In Arizona, a lot more of the vote is in. 75% of the estimated vote is in. Biden has an impressive 203,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.5% to 45.1%. In Minnesota right now, 61% of the estimated vote is in. Biden has a 220,000 vote lead over Trump there as well, 54.3% to 43.6%. There's more states. Let's continue the key race alert right now. In Ohio right now, 88% of the estimated vote is in. Trump has an impressive 434,000 vote lead over Biden in Ohio, 53.2% to 45.3%. In North Carolina right now, 95% of the vote is in. Relatively close, only a 75,000 vote Trump lead over Biden. 50% for Trump to 48.7% for Biden. In Iowa right now, 70% of the vote is in, very close. Only a 31,000 vote lead for Trump over Biden, 50.3% to 47.8%. Let's go back to John King at the Magic Wall. So close in some of these states. There's still a lot of outstanding votes to be counted.
Yeah, and we're going to wait late into the night for some of them, we're told. And again, some grace to the local election officials because they have to deal with this wild and different 2020 mail-in voting, in-person early voting, election day voting. However, in some of these states, as you go through them, number one, again, Pennsylvania, we're still waiting. 50% estimate. We're going to be waiting on that one for a while. Michigan, you pull it out. Trump lead right now. But again, it's just not contextual in the sense that you come down here, Wayne County, 147,000 votes right now. That's Detroit and the suburbs around it. Hillary Clinton was at 520,000, 519,000. 4 years ago. So it's just a reminder to our viewers that these states are counting more slowly because of the complexities of the 2020 election, and it's going to take time. It may well take into the morning. If that's the case, we'll keep counting and we'll stay up all night and watch it play out. Wisconsin, the same thing. So again, if you lived through 2016 and you're a Republican, you're looking at this map and you're saying that looks great. It does look great. It's just not complete, and it's nowhere near complete. Nowhere near complete. So we just need to see. We need to keep counting votes. So then the other anomaly on the map, if you will, there are two things that look different compared to 2016. One of them is the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I'm going to zoom in again on Fairfax County right here. This has been this way for some time. This has been this way for some time, stuck at 28% for the largest county in the state. You would think, I know it's a difficult year, you would think the largest county in the Commonwealth of Virginia could do a better job than that, 28% at this point of the night.
Hold on one moment, John.
Sure.
Pamela Brown's got some reporting on what's going on in Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. We're finding out in Fairfax, Virginia. It is slow going, finding out the results there. In fact, we're finding out that they will have their roughly 400,000 absentee ballots results in the next couple of hours, likely before 1 a.m. So far, only around 28% is reported there in Fairfax County in Virginia, and a very small portion of that is Democratic. So we have that going on there. And then you look over in Georgia, it is slow going, John. If you go over to Georgia and some of these counties there, you have Gwinnett County only 29% in, DeKalb, we have only 24% in, and then Fulton has also been slow going. They were delayed because of a pipe that burst earlier, and so they still have 48,000 absentee ballots to go through. They had 2 weeks to process these ballots, but it is slow going there in Georgia. And then we also know, of course, John, in Pennsylvania, more than 1 million outstanding absentee ballots for officials to go through in the Democratic areas there of Pennsylvania. I'm talking about Philadelphia, I'm talking about the suburbs of Philadelphia and Allegheny. And that's not counting these 9 counties, the smaller counties that are waiting until tomorrow to start counting those absentee ballots. So as this picture comes together of what's happening, we really are in suspense there in Pennsylvania.
That's a lot. It's again, you just look at the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, big state, 20 electoral votes, 2 million to 1.5 million, and you think that's a lot of votes. Just go back in time to Pam's point about how many votes still need to be counted. 2.9, and we expect higher turnout this time. Pam mentioned the 9 counties, at least 6 of those, I think maybe all 9, but at least 6 or 7 won by Trump. They've just decided they knew they were going to be overwhelmed today. They're not going to count those votes until tomorrow. So you look at that there. I want to pop back to what Pam said in Georgia, because again, if you're in the Biden campaign right now, you're looking at this map and you're thinking all of the opportunities we thought we had might be slipping away, meaning states that we could flip, like Florida, like North Carolina, like Georgia. There are 2 Senate races in Georgia as well. So I just want to go to the point Pam was making and just see what are we looking at, right? So let's come back out first. You look at statewide, a 211,141 vote lead. So you come into the highest population center and you say, okay, well, they're missing a lot of ballots here. Not missing, but they haven't counted a lot of ballots here. So you look at Fulton County, 297,000 there. Let's just see where we are, 196. So Joe Biden is 100,000 votes behind where Hillary Clinton was there. It's supposed to be a more high turnout election, so maybe there's more votes there. That's about 100,000 there. Pam mentioned Gwinnett County. Come over here. You see 174,000 for Biden now. You go back 176. So he's ahead of Hillary Clinton already there with still some votes to be counted. The question you're asking, this is the reason I'm going through this, is it at all possible? When you look at the Donald Trump lead right now, when you go through these areas and you move over here, we had that. We come here again, 81,000 votes. There's a lot of votes to be done here. 81,000 is where Joe Biden is now. You go back in time, 251,000. So you are looking at giant chunks of votes in those counties. You come back out, you see the president's lead is 211,000. When you have that many votes missing from DeKalb, Gwinnett, and Fulton, there's no reason at all for Democrats to give up. There's votes to be counted. The question is, can you win? As those votes are counted, what's your margin? What is your margin? So again, you keep it on the board. If you look at it right now, as a Democrat, you're disappointed. But when you do the math and figure out what's out there, this is why patience is going to be so important. And again, it's the very same situation. Pam mentioned more than 1 million votes here. They're just nowhere near. This is 2016. You come back up to 2020. They're just nowhere near the same numbers, right? You just saw the 2016 numbers. And so patience is what's required here. And again, we heard the president repeatedly at the end of the campaign saying we should be able to count the votes on election night. That's it. I'm done. It's just not the way it works, which is why Sarah Murray, in the report saying the Secretary of State in Pennsylvania just came out, explained the process. That's really the challenge now for the election officials in these states where you have the slow count, we just got the Fairfax information, in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, transparency is going to be key in the hours ahead, because this is where, in this age of social media and everything else, this is where things start to fly around. The important thing is stay with the sources you trust, be patient. We're going to count them. We have eyes on them. It's all fine.
No rush. We'll take it easy.
Right.
We'll do it right. We have a key race alert. Some of the contests we haven't paid that much attention to, but take a look at this in Maine. Right now, 37% of the estimated vote is in. Joe Biden has an 18,000 vote lead over Donald Trump, 51.3% to 45.5%. The second congressional district in Maine, with one electoral vote, 33% of the vote is in. Trump is slightly ahead, 8,841 votes, 50.6% to 45%. Only a third of the vote is in Maine. The second congressional district in Montana right now, Biden is ahead but it's close, by about 1,300 votes, 49.2% to 48.1%. 20% of the vote in Montana is in, so we're watching those contests as well.
And so, again, very rarely does it happen, but every now and then, those one matter. You mentioned the Maine 2nd Congressional District. Democrats all along have thought that Maine was a state that they were going to win and win quite comfortably. As you can see, we're very early in the count right here. But you see the red up in the northern part of the state. Donald Trump carried this congressional district 4 years ago. Maine and Nebraska do it by congressional district. It is very rare that it comes down to, 269, 269, or 271. It's very rare that that happens, but on a night like this, we'll keep track of that count there, because Democrats thought they had that one in their back pocket. But Democrats have been surprised in some other places tonight, or at least appear to be on the verge of being surprised. So we'll watch as it plays out. And so, you're going to go across this map, and you're looking at this map. And if you're watching at home, this is important. Throughout the night, Donald Trump had been leading in the popular vote. As we get the West Coast results, Joe Biden is now 1.6 million votes ahead there. That's important from a symbolic and a moral victory, but it's not how we pick presidents.
John, we got another key race alert, an important one right now. The Commonwealth of Virginia, look at this, 73% of the vote is in. Biden is now ahead by some 219,000 votes, 52.3% to 46% for Trump. All of a sudden, Biden takes the lead in Virginia, 13 electoral votes at stake in Virginia. That's significant, John. We were looking closely at those suburban Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia counties.
And so let's see what happened there, because, again, we've seen this play out in Virginia before, where the Republican takes an early lead, but not all, and the Northern Virginia counties come in. And you see Fairfax County was at 28% moments ago. Now it's up to 86. If you need something fixed at home, you just need Pam Brown to talk about it on television. And then apparently it just happens right away. Pam talks about it, and in come the votes. So that's good. It's a good thing. I'll give you Pam's phone number later in the program. As you go through this, look, on a night like this, when people are nervous, when we do have counting, it is important for people. So we give them credit for counting the votes when they did. And when you pull that back out, then all of a sudden, a state that you were watching all night long, you're wondering, why is that red? We talked about this all night long, and we're going to talk about it apparently through the night and into tomorrow when it comes to Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. We need to be patient. It's a very different year. These are good people who count votes. We beat them up sometimes. We ask, why aren't you doing this more quickly? They're good people, and they're counting the votes. We want them as quickly as possible. So now you see this, and that puts Virginia back again. So you come back out, and you look at this map where we are right now, right? So now we're at 1147. This is where normally we're thinking, are we close? Are we close to making a call? We are not. We are not. Why? We are not. Why? Because we're waiting for so much. Number one, you see those. They're red right now, but it's just not contextual. It's real. The president leads in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, but we're missing a ton of votes. We're missing a ton of votes. And so you look at this part of the country. Has anything changed? Right? Let me take this out. Has anything changed from 2016? No. Has anything changed from 2016? No. Not yet. We're not done. We haven't called some of these states, but in terms of who's leading right now. And so the only thing on this map right now that's different is that Arizona. And that's not called yet either, but it seems to be trending Joe Biden's way. So that was a key target for the Democrats. There's a Senate race out there as well, too. That was one. The Democrats came into the night thinking and hoping there would be more than one. We're not done yet. There may well yet be. Georgia, as we just noted, they have a lot of votes to count in Georgia. It's still close enough for those votes to make a difference. But the Democrats who spent this week saying it's going to be a blowout are reconsidering that right now. Again, we haven't finished with these states. But if you were going to have a blowout, even when you're waiting for some votes to be counted, in a blowout year, you're leading. You tend to lead. So it doesn't mean one or two of these won't flip back, but you don't see any evidence right now of a huge wave. And that's going to matter, not just for the presidency, as we get later in the night in the Senate, as we start doing the House tally, as tomorrow we think about governor's races and state legislatures, the fact that there's a lot of red here is better news for Republicans. How good, we don't know yet. That takes a few days to sort through that. And so you come back to this map here right now. Again, Joe Biden now ahead in the popular vote. That's just a moral victory. It's a symbolic victory. If you start to stretch it out, then it does affect the Electoral College map. But if it's pretty close, as it is right now, then you're doing state by state, hand-to-hand combat of presidential politics. And that comes down. I just want to check this one again. We kept waiting. Was Ohio going to change? 88. Again, we're still waiting. I was just communicating with a very good, solid Republican vote counter in Ohio. Very confident that's going to stay for Trump. Not a Trump person, just a very smart Republican vote counter. We'll see. We'll see if she's right. But, you know, it sure looks that way. You come back here again. So you see this right now. You think it's halfway through. 519,000 votes. That's big, right? Even in a big state like Pennsylvania. However, let's go west to east this time. 98,000 votes. We've been stuck there for a long time. 17% of the estimated vote. Allegheny County, that's Pittsburgh. That's the suburbs around it. Remember that 98,000. This is a higher turnout year. We're seeing that everywhere in the country. 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton got 367,000 votes in Allegheny County. We're just nowhere near done. We have a lot of votes to count there. Let's just come. I just want to check in some of the counties for the president. That's a county we expect to go for Joe Biden. Westmoreland County is a place where we expect the president. Hold this, that's a big deal. Joe Biden went into these communities thinking, I can narrow the gap some, but again, we're in the early chapter of this, and we don't know what we have left to come out. Let's come back over here. Again, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, this is what matters most in terms of the vote count. Democrats need to run it up big in Philadelphia. Joe Biden at 248,000, so just shy of 250,000 votes. You think that's a big lead. You see 75%. But to emphasize the point, we have a long way to go. Hillary Clinton got 584,000 votes in this county 4 years ago. We got a ton way to go. Wolf, back to you.
We'll be patient. We got another projection right now. Take a look at this. CNN projects that Joe Biden is the winner in Virginia. Virginia goes for Biden. Biden beats Trump in the Commonwealth of Virginia. 13 electoral votes go to Biden. Take a look at the Electoral College map count. Right now, Biden has crossed 200. He has 205 Electoral College votes right now. Trump has 114, 270 needed to win the presidency. Let's take a look at some of the key race alerts right now. Arizona right now, look at this. 76% of the estimated vote in Arizona is in. Biden is ahead in Arizona by more than 207,000 votes, 53.6% to 45% for Trump. So let's go back to John King right now. Arizona, 200,000 vote lead right now with that number, that percentage of vote in. That's pretty significant, John.
It is indeed. And so again, that's 2016. Let me come back to 2020, come through my time warp here and pull out Arizona. It is significant. Now, again, it's a flip, right? It would be a flip. It's a traditionally red state, so you're going to always be a little bit more cautious before you call it. And so we want to wait and see. But you're up to 76%. You're up to a 207,000 vote lead, 1.2 to 1. And again, this is the bread and butter of Arizona, 60% of the vote, Maricopa County. You see Joe Biden just shy of 800,000 votes right there, 54%. Let's just go back and take a look. Hillary Clinton, 700,000 votes, 702. 702, the Democrat this time, 798. So 96,000 more votes, and we're not quite complete yet here. Again, what does this tell you? Number one, it tells you the Biden campaign did a good job. But number two, it just tells you more about the suburban revolt. And again, we're seeing other places that are closer than they were 4 years ago. This would be a very important pickup for the Democrats if it continues to trend this way. And again, 54 if you round up to 45, so a 9-point race there. If you go back 4 years ago, it was close, but it was a 4.5-point race in favor of the Republicans. The demographic shifts in Arizona, the suburban revolt against President Trump, and this could be very, very important on a night where the other opportunities for the Democrats, at least as of now, do not seem to be bearing fruit. Florida still red, Georgia still red, North Carolina still red, Ohio still red. So if you're the Democrats and you're thinking, how do we take away, and I can walk over here and show you, how do we take away from Donald Trump's math? This is where we are right now with the states that have been projected. So this part is done. Nothing here is a surprise. So the question is, if you're Joe Biden, how do you get to 270? Well, that would help, right? 205 gets you up to 216. That would help. Doesn't get you all the way, but it helps. Not only does it help you go up, it takes it away from Donald Trump's 306. And so then you're looking at this map. If you're a Democrat and you're looking at this map, you assume this one's going to come your way. We're not done there yet, Minnesota. And you're looking around here, you assume most of Maine is going to come your way. Right now, President Trump was leading in that congressional district, so let's just take that away. I'm going to make the second congressional district a toss-up for now. The president is leading. The Democrats think they're going to get that, but again, they thought they were going to get some other places too. We'll watch. I'll take it off as a toss-up. So you're at 229, and you're the Democrats. How do you get there if you're Joe Biden, right? Well, you can't count on Texas right now. You're still leading in Iowa. No, you're not. You're not leading in Iowa anymore. You're going to get Hawaii when we go a little deeper into the night. That gets you up to 233. And so then, again, it sounds redundant, but you come here and here, and even those two, not enough. So you're looking at that. Do you do that there? Or the other Clinton state, Nevada, we haven't done on the West Coast yet. You get that there. So that's 285. Can you afford to lose that? You come to that. You can't afford to lose that. So we're going to walk through the math as we go through this for the rest of the night.
Let's take a quick break. A lot more coming up. We're waiting to see what happens in Arizona. Can Joe Biden pull off a win in that state? We'll find out. Election night in America continues in 2 minutes.
Votes every morning overwhelmingly Biden here, even in the same day vote that we're seeing here in the same day that we're seeing in Kentucky, about 60, 62% of the vote right now. So he can anybody got a can here? Anybody got a can? As I say, it does end up catching even in some blue counties. Here's a good example. Gwinnett County, I was just looking at this, if you look at the early absentee vote that was cast here,
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other.
Wisconsin, 2 early to call. Minnesota, 2 early to call. Iowa, 2 early to call. Nevada, we have just had 2 early to call. Oh, we have one more. Idaho, Donald Trump, our projected winner. That has never changed. From 2016 now. Let's go to the science. Richard. next guest. He's been kind enough to be on our broadcast several past nights to talk about tonight. And that's James Harden. James, I need not remind you, you knew this would be hanging on. We are all in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Couldn't even introduce James. The projected winner in the Commonwealth of Virginia is Joe Biden. 13 electoral votes in his column. And it's where that leaves us on the road to 270, just to remind everybody. And then we'll talk to our friend James. 206 to 136 race right now, and there it made my name rather paralyzed. James, you predicted a night overdone and dusted long before this. How do you view this fight? What's going on? The first thing is, every Democrat put the possibility in the hands of back in the medicine cabinet. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. We're going to write a book on your friend Senator Michigan is a compromise. Pennsylvania looks really good. When Biden, Wisconsin, I think a big surprise here is Georgia. Steve Mackey did a really good job telling people what's happening. So look, I hope that we would know earlier than we did. I think we're going to be just fine. I'm very
Battleground still too early to call, too close to call. Here's where the fight for electoral votes stands right now. Take a look at this. 205 electoral college votes for Biden right now. That's what Biden has right now. You need 270 to win. It's a very, very important race right now. Let's take a look at the key race alert right now in Pennsylvania right now. 51% of the estimated vote is in. Donald Trump has 56.5% to 42.1% for Biden. He's got a lead of more than 500,000 votes right now, but 51% of the estimated vote is in. Still plenty of votes outstanding. In Michigan, still plenty of votes outstanding as well. 48% of the estimated vote is in. Trump has 54.4%. Biden has 43.8%. Trump is ahead by 289,000 votes. In Wisconsin, 61% of the vote is in. Trump has a 105,000 vote lead over Biden, 51.6% to 46.8%. In Arizona, 76% of the estimated vote is in. Biden has 53% to Trump's 45%. In Arizona, 207,000 vote lead for Biden over Trump in Arizona. As we follow some of those crucial undecided races, we're getting closer and closer to another poll closing just minutes from now. Voting ends in Hawaii. 4 electoral votes are at stake out of the 270 needed to win this contest. Let's go back to John King over at the Magic Wall. John, right now Trump has 114 electoral votes. Biden has 205.
Right, and so you just mentioned we're going to get Hawaii at the top of the hour, and it would be a shock if this went any way other than that. So we'll just do that, and we're going to wait for Alaska, but we assume that will go red. So let's assume here, then you get Joe Biden to 209, right? And so we're from there. Again, we're not done here yet, and we're not done here yet. But that's what it looks like it's trending there.
Hawaii is too early to call, by the way.
Hawaii is too early to call. I'm just saying I expect that's where we end up, right? It would be a huge surprise. It would be a huge surprise otherwise. And if we have to go back, we go back. But so you do the hypotheticals now in the Biden campaign, and you're banking on that. You're banking on Nevada, and you like your lead in Arizona, and you think you're going to get that. So then you're looking around. And again, Minnesota is a state. We're not there yet, but you think you're going to keep that. I don't think I've ever been past 11 o'clock on a presidential election night and having not called the state of Rhode Island. That's Connecticut. We'll come back in there. It's a little small. My fingers don't quite get in there. I started my career in Rhode Island, and I never thought we'd get past 11 o'clock before we call it. It's just that's the year we're in, right? But we expect that goes Democratic. So then you're looking at the map, right? Virginia's now back in the Democratic fold. You're in the Biden campaign. You can't count on this anymore. You weren't counting on it, but your hope has gone away. Your hope is fading. You're not sure about Georgia. There's a lot of votes out in metro Atlanta. So let's play this one out. We'll just wait a little bit and be patient. But again, you're back in this place here, right, where you expect that if you're the Democrats, you think you're going to get most of Maine, but I'm going to take away this congressional district and just put it back in the toss-up. Maine, one of those states that does it. Just let's take this away. Let's be cautious and see what happens. And again, I'm looking at the Biden math, right, because the president starts at 270. Joe Biden has to starts at 306. Joe Biden has to subtract to take it away. And so you're looking at the map now. Where else do you go? It gets you back right here again. Now, again, we assume, we haven't called this yet, we assume that's going to go there, right? And let's just see. We're waiting on Iowa, but the expectation is that that goes there. So if these all stay, right, and this is the wild card. I'm going to do this last because, again, we're a lot of votes waiting. So any Democrat in Georgia is going to get mad at me right now. It's just a hypothetical. We're having a hypothetical right here. We expect the president will end up with Alaska, Idaho. Montana is interesting right now, but again, the expectation is it's going to go there. So we got some congressional districts here we're waiting on. And so then where do you get, right? You've got 1, 2, and 3 in the congressional district. So we're going to wait those out. Just remember that you sort of have three off to the side as you go through these big 3 states right here. At 243 and 246, essentially, if you get this, you're knocking at the door, right? You get this, then you need one of these. Right? If this one, let's just leave this one off the board. We think it's going to be the slowest to count. Right? If we're waiting on that, bang, bang, 269, then we're into the congressional districts. Right? So then do you get that one? Do you get one of those? That would get Joe Biden there without Pennsylvania. If you flip it around and you're the President of the United States, you think, can you get this back? The polls looked iffy, but again, 259, 56, that's where we're in. Okay, these are hypotheticals, but that's where we are. That's where it looks like we're going into the night with those 2 or 3 states out there, a couple of congressional districts in hand-to-hand combat.
We got a projection right now. CNN projects that President Trump will win the state of Ohio, beats Biden in Ohio. 18 electoral votes in Ohio. That's a big win for Donald Trump in the state of Ohio. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map where it stands right now. With that, Biden still has 205. Trump has 132. 270 needed to win the presidency. Biden still had 205, 132. We're watching this very closely. Let's get a key race alert and see where things stand right now. All eyes on Arizona right now. 76% of the estimated vote is now in, and Biden still has an impressive 207,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.6% to 45%. For Trump, that's 11 electoral votes in Arizona right there. 76%, John, of Arizona is now in.
And so, again, it's not there yet, but that would be the flip, right? We're looking at this map right now. We're starting to fill it in. Nothing has changed from 2016 as of now. So both campaigns sort of in their building blocks. This is where they figured you would be. Now, again, the Biden campaign was hoping, right? Hoping for an opportunity here, an opportunity here, an opportunity here. We just took one away. They thought they had a chance. Remember, Joe Biden went to Cleveland Monday morning. Closer, a lot closer than it was last time, but a Trump win there, we project. And so you're looking at this map. So this one, they're leading in. That's a Clinton state they expect to get. So again, in the Biden campaign, you came into the night dreaming of getting this. It doesn't look that way. We still have some votes to count in Texas. But so if you take off the board, let's not count on that anymore. Take that off. We're still waiting. Take that off. Take that off again. We're back here where we knew we would be. And the question is, what else can change the math, right? So which, do you need the big one? Can you do it with the 26, 16, and 10? 16 Michigan, 10 Wisconsin. This is, you're sitting there now with your sheets, or that's all done digitally now. But some people like old school, even in the campaigns. They're sitting there with their paper, and they're going through this because you got one in the congressional district here. You got one here. The question for Maine, we haven't done Maine yet. I mean, Biden can pick some up in Maine if you turn this off and come here. The question is, do you get them all? I'm in the wrong thing there. There we go. Do you get them all, or do you just get? Does the congressional district go back and forth? So that's where the interesting math is now. And normally, in a big race, it doesn't come down to this, right? You're not worried about one congressional district there and one congressional district here, but we have the potential to be in that. You know, for challenge for Biden now is make sure you hold Nevada, clinch Arizona, and flip it, and then you get into the then we get into the math as we go later through the night. And the issue is going to be keep checking in on Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin to find out how much more are we going to get tonight, how much more will we get in the middle of the night. I think in all three states we're likely to be having a tomorrow conversation, and the question is, what else do we get? Do we get everything else? And then, so where's the math when we go into the weight on these? And that's the calculation back and forth. And guess what? If you go into tomorrow, just without a doubt, then you're talking about lawyers, contested fights. Some of them perfectly normal, some of them perhaps outside of normal, because we've heard the President of the United States say repeatedly he thinks you should be able to finish counting an election tonight. It's not the way it works. It's just not the way it works. It never works that way. It was not going to work this way from the beginning this year because of the complexities of the pandemic voting. But it is one thing to watch. The President signaled he was going to do it. We're now at 12:06 a.m. on Wednesday. He has not done it. That's good. That's good. We should let the process play out. But as we get through this later, let's just see.
And in all three of those battleground states, the so-called blue wall, so much of the outstanding vote are the early votes, which were skewing Democratic.
Right, they were. And again, I didn't have, Rhode Island still has not been called on that map too, which would be a couple of votes for Biden. Let's bring it over here and just to look. And again, you know, this at this point, to people at home who've been watching all night long, this is getting a bit redundant. But as people tune in later in the night, it's just important to keep saying this. If you look at this map and you think it's after midnight, 56-42 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, at first glance, you think, wow. But then think about it. Pennsylvania, no matter who wins Pennsylvania, it is not going to be a 14-point race in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's just not going to happen. So what does that tell you? That this is an incomplete picture. Every vote in here is a real vote, but it's an incomplete picture. And so you look at places where the president is doing well, 72% of the vote is in here in Lancaster County. Very important to the president. You move up here to Lebanon County. It's a smaller county, but this is where the president, you know, this is where the Trump magic is running it up in these smaller counties, building 20,000 votes here, 10,000 votes there, but 95% of it is in. So if you're looking at this map right now and you're thinking, if you're a Democrat, okay, a lot of these Trump counties, a high percentage of the vote seems to be in, but come over here to this part of the state. Bucks County, 53%, so we're making some progress there. Biden holding the lead. Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia, up to 40%. We were in the 20s last time we checked, so we're getting some more votes. But again, look at 248,931, so just shy 249,000 for Joe Biden. He's leading Philadelphia County. Go back 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton gets 584,000 votes. So we just have to, that's simple math, right? Turnout is higher this year. Hillary Clinton got 584,000 votes in Philadelphia County. Joe Biden right now is at 248,000. The president's numbers are much lower too. We just haven't counted many of the votes in Philadelphia County. And that includes when you move beyond out to Montgomery County. Again, might be 50% here. I'll look at the numbers there. 168,000 for Joe Biden now. Hillary Clinton won this county with 256. So there's just a lot of math to be done, right? You move down here, Chester County, Hillary Clinton had 141,000. You come up here now, we're at 73,000. That's about half, a little less than half, a little more than half, I'm sorry. So if you just bring it out, this is where we just need to be patient. And again, the key thing, if you're a Democrat and you're sweating this a little bit, number one, you know, most of your votes here have not yet been counted. This is your other big basket here. You're still at 17%. Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, and the suburbs around it. Joe Biden leading healthily, 98,000 votes. That's a healthy lead. You go back in time, Hillary Clinton got 367,000 votes in Allegheny County. Joe Biden hopes to do better than her 4 years ago. We'll see if that turns out to be true, but we just simply know 260, just shy of 260, just shy of 370. You come here now, we just haven't counted a lot of votes. There's just a ton of votes yet to be counted, which means we're not done. So you pull it out and you wait the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So it's just deceptive. It's all real. These are all votes, but that's just deceptive because it's not a contextual lead because we're missing so many votes. And it's the very same story when you move over to Michigan. The challenge now is for the election officials in these states to be transparent, to do the best they can, you know, count as quickly as they can and be transparent about what is missing. But you just want to come down here and look again. This hasn't budged. This simply hasn't budged. Wayne County is Detroit and the suburbs around it. This is the building block for Democrats in the state of Michigan. nearly 20%, 18% or more, depending on turnout of the statewide vote. You see Joe Biden at 147,000. You go back in time. This was a place where Hillary Clinton underperformed. Democrats wish turnout was higher, but still, she got 519,000 plus votes 4 years ago. The leader right there, right now, Joe Biden, 147,000 votes. So it just tells you, that's just one county. It just tells you we have a boatload of votes to count. And you come out here, let's move out to Kent, move out to the western part of the state. You're up to 60 here, right? 60% of the estimated vote. But 119,000, Donald Trump leading in Kent County. This is Grand Rapids and the suburbs around it. Democrats had hoped to make inroads here. Let's see if it stays red. But 119 at 54%. You come back 4 years ago, 148. So even in a place where they say they're up to 60, we just know it's under the 2016 vote total. We know that turnout is up just about everywhere in this election. So it tells you it's real, it's a Trump lead, but it's an incomplete picture. Let's come to 2020 as we do that. It's a Trump lead, and it's a healthy lead, it looks like, but it's just incomplete. And it's significantly incomplete. And Wolf, it's the very same thing over in Wisconsin. You look at this as a Republican, it's closer here, but it's still 5 points when you look at it, 108,000 votes. But you come down here to Milwaukee, 128,000 votes right there. You go back in time. Hillary Clinton had 208,000 votes. Turnout was down in Milwaukee 4 years ago. I heard Bill Ware say earlier Democrats are worried about it this time, but it's not going to be this much down. You're not going to have 288,000. Look at the president. He was at 126,000 here, and you come back, you come up to 2020 here. He's at 80,000 and 128. It's just not a complete picture. There are a lot of votes to be counted. And so you want to, you want to know. It's past midnight. You want to know. We just have a long way to go. We have to count votes.
Let's be patient and we'll count the votes. We have a projection right now. CNN projects that President Trump will win the state of Idaho. Trump beats Biden in Idaho, wins 4 electoral votes in Idaho. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map where it stands right now with that win. Trump now has 136 Electoral College votes. Biden has 205, 270. That's the magic number you need to win the presidency. Let's get a key race alert right now, see where things stand in Minnesota and Iowa. In Minnesota right now, 65% of the estimated vote is in. Biden has an impressive 217,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.9% to 44.1%. In Iowa right now, 84% of the estimated vote is in. Trump has a 95,000 vote lead over Biden, 52.2% to 45.9% in Iowa. 2 more states. We're waiting for those states, John. So the counting continues.
The counting continues. And again, we mentioned Iowa. It was blue very early on. This is one of those states that Biden can. This is a much longer shot. This is more of a Republican state. Some Democrats out there thought there's a Senate race out there as well. So Democrats thought make a run at it. But you look at that right now, again, 84%. We have a way to go in the count. But you just come in to Polk County. This is Des Moines, up to 95%, 57% to 41%. Just checking the vote totals to see turnout. 146,000 leading there, 119. So you see, even there, Joe Biden's numbers higher. Turnout is up everywhere, but it doesn't appear to be enough as you walk it through. We'll just come through here and come out and look. You come over to the eastern part of the state, Cedar Rapids, Lynn County. Democrats need a big turnout here. 70,000 votes, 92%. Just want to go back in time again to compare it. Hillary Clinton gets 58,000 votes. So Joe Biden is, in the places where the Democrats need to do well, Joe Biden is getting more votes, more because of higher turnout than Hillary Clinton. But just look, There's an interesting thing to look at this here, the so-called pivot counties. Just watch this map. This is Trump 2016, right? Trump 2016, Trump 2020, Trump 2020, still a lot of red. If you go back in time, watch all the blue. This is Obama 2012. Obama 2008. Iowa has more of the so-called pivot counties than any state in the country. There are 31 counties in this state that voted twice for Barack Obama and Joe Biden. 31 counties, 31 of the 99 Iowa counties. Look at that. It changed in 2016, and it looks like if you do it here, we're not quite done with the 2020 count. It does look like Joe Biden maybe took a few of them back, but nowhere near. The bulk of them are right up in here. Nowhere near. Again, we're not done with the count here, but we're up to amber. This red is incomplete.
Certainly is. We got to kick now. In Arizona, look at this estimated vote in Arizona is in. Biden has an impressive 207,000 vote lead over Trump, 53.6% to 45%, 11 electoral votes in Arizona.
next few days there. Talk to me about the mental health of Democrats. President of the United States. We are going to hear from Joe Biden, I think, quite shortly. Again, we just saw that motorcade shot.